A return not at all.
Bloedhunder wil slaughteren. Test is Villa. I give my offering to the All-Father. The Rikar Jotun that plagued our people. I found its lair. Bless me, Uncle.
Have you chosen exile?
I have brought down a creature that none among us has ever slaughtered.
You traded the lesson of the hunt for a quick kill with a trigger. You betrayed the old ways. Watch your tongue, child.
You are afraid of a power you do not understand.
That power enslaved us! You reject the very wisdom that kept us alive. You reject us.
I have spent 10 winters proving myself to you.
It is not my respect you must earn, young one. I lived to see you pass the test. It was not the gun that protected them. It was you. Perhaps there is more to the old ways than the weapon we chose. And beast none slatra. You will be the first. Luthondur. The old father guides you now.
Go now to Valhalla End.
Welcome to the Apex Legends Global Series, where the best Apex Legends competitors in the world gather together to take their shot at playing for glory, fame, and bragging rights. With TSM still on the undefeated winning streak, they came into online tournament number 3 as the heavy favorites. But as the squad eliminations piled up, it was Team Liquid who showed they came to play, winning in commanding fashion with a double-digit points lead over a second-place TSM. But today, the dropships are loading up with more challengers, all vying to claim the crown. Can Nocturnal and the rest of Team Liquid pull off back-to-back wins, or will TSM wash the taste of second place out of their mouths and take back the champion's title? Or will some new challenger show that they've got what it takes to be immortalized as champions? It's time to find out which teams are going to surprise us. Who will pull out those devious, notorious rat strats? Who is going to outshoot, outthink, and outplay? And who's sitting back with a scout? Ready up and settle in. Welcome to the Apex Legends Global Series.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Apex Legends Global Series online tournament number 4. This is the North American Finals. I'm Fallout, joined for the very first time in an Apex broadcast with the one and only Hodzik. My friend, it is so great to have you on the broadcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. The first broadcast was a ton of fun. I'm glad people enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens in NA. I'm a little bit biased, so I'm really looking forward to these games up ahead.
You absolutely crushed it in the first European broadcast. Big shout out to Hodzik. Thank you for joining us, man. Great to have your brain, your mind, and Apex Legends, former member of the Pittsburgh Knights competing in Poland and now joining us on the talent team. We are still sheltering in place, still bringing you a broadcast from home, and we are joined with some amazing casters and talent in Apex Legends. We have Onset and Bravo, the duo, making a return here, and going to be bringing you guys the noise and the action throughout the entirety of the day. Games 1, 3, and 5. They're going to be joined alongside Jamerson and Rainday, two of the best minds we have in Apex Legends. Great personalities as well. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We are incredibly excited for it. It's going to be an amazing day of Apex Legends action. Of course, a big thank you to our entire production team, everyone that's been putting in so much work to this entire broadcast throughout the entirety of the broadcast. It's going to be a good day. Hodzik, you, of course, had a chance to bring the action and bring the noise in the European finals to kick things off. What are you looking forward to most here in our North American finals?
I think the top 5 teams that we'll talk about here in a little bit in terms of the teams to watch, I think it could be anyone's game within those 5. I mean, there could be, a wild card in the group that actually sneaks out ahead too, but these teams have been extremely strong, and it's hard to guess which one's going to come out on top. So I'm excited to see the result of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the top 5 teams we've listed and shown, you're right, maybe there might be some teams outside of that might make some noise as well. You've been watching all day long. You watched the European finals earlier. We're getting started with our grand finals here momentarily. This is the schedule that we currently see and typically see with our online tournament format, of course, adjusted for our global audience. So anyone tuning in from Europe, of course, North America, thank you so much for tuning in and supporting the growth of Apex Legends. We're going to get kicked off here very, very soon with our first match of the day, first game of our 5-game series. And I'll tell you right now, it's going to be an amazing day. We have Snipedown joining the Rogue roster. That was a big advancement and announcement that came over the past week. I'm excited to see that roster in action for the very first time. And of course, the big storyline coming into it, Hodzik, is Team Liquid and TSM. Already some words exchanged via Twitter. It's going to get interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of beef going on already. It's going to be a little bit heated. Really, like I said, I'm really excited to watch these games. I can't wait.
Yeah, you and I both. Yeah, a little bit of beef, a little bit of words exchanged, but you can't deny how great that TSM squad is. But all 20 teams that are showing up today have had to go through the ringer. They went through the road to the finals on Saturday, April 18th, where teams played a maximum of 5 rounds in a single elimination bracket format. Each round featured 4 matches. After each round, the teams with the highest scores advanced to the next round. I was all the way until the semifinals, where we had the top 40 best teams in North America. Top 10 teams from both of those lobbies qualified for today. And speaking of today, here's the format and what we're going to see today. A 5-match winner-take-all grand final opportunity here for a pretty significant prize pool. There will be 20 squads and 60 participants. Teams will earn points in each match based on placement and kills. You all know the format. You love the format. And in the end, the team with the highest score will be the winner of online tournament number 4. For the very first time, we saw TSM dethroned by Team Liquid, with TSM in second place, just right behind them. As we mentioned, some words exchanged already on Twitter. We all know these two squads are forming quite the rivalry now, as Team Liquid's hoping to maintain their position as the best team in the tournament so far. Hadzik, of these teams, any team in particular that you think is going to make some noise that might not be TSM or Team Liquid? Any team that you think can maybe be our third team to win a championship here?
I mean, I think it would be a massive disservice to the NA side of the scene and not even talk about complexity. And since the last tournament they played, it was Monsoon, Reptar, and Mirko. Since then, Mirko departed and has been replaced by Lou, which leads us to, if you remember former FlyQuest, 2/3 of them with the duo of Monsoon and Lou, which is, I think, one of the deadliest combos of players put on a team. If we're just talking about 2 players on it. Their chemistry together is crazy. They're probably the 2 hardest players to fight in a group together versus any other duo. So it would be very, very unfair to not talk about them and potentially taking the whole tournament. I mean, Complexity did do well last tournament. I think they're even bolstered now by Lou joining them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Monsoon joined his former teammate on that FlyQuest squad, like you said. So they're competing for a lot today. Take a look at the total prize pool, $23,000, which is not bad for a day of Apex Legends at home. $7,200 for first, all the way down to 10th place, who will get paid with $590 on your current prize pool. So there's been an opportunity for these pro players to continue competing amidst the shelter-in-place orders and amidst everything going on. Of course, we would love to be competing on LAN, but the online tournament pivot has been great for not only fans and entertainment, but also for the players. And speaking of entertainment, we all love this format. Really rewarding, an opportunity to play aggressive and get kills, which we see a lot more of in North America than we do on the European side of things. Talked about a little about this points and scoring format, Hadzik, favoring, perhaps offering an opportunity for teams that are aggressive and teams that like to play for placement.
Absolutely. We saw on the European side today, basically, like I mentioned, they play mainly for position. Europe in general tends to value position a little bit more, and then kind of getting whatever kills you can, fending people off around you. Whereas that same mentality is still prevalent in all of competitive Apex. NA side is definitely, I guess for lack of a better word, a lot more egos involved. If a team believes they're better than you and they know what team you are, and most of these teams know the teams around them, they won't be afraid to take an early fight and get some early kill points. Don't be surprised to see less teams alive very early on in the game compared to the EU side of things.
Yep, it's very, very common. Perhaps it's because of egos, perhaps it's because of different regional play styles. But speaking of the teams that are participating, we've talked about a few of these already, but let's take a look at the top teams right now in the overall standings in the North American region. A lot of these teams will be competing today. Team Solo Mid, of course, at the top of that list. TSM has had a dominant start to these online tournaments, a dominant start to Apex Legends as the best team in the game, undoubtedly. Hard to not put them in that category. But right behind them is that little rivalry that's forming. Team Liquid in second place. Team Liquid, the first team to dethrone TSM after TSM won 5 straight games. But of those teams, here are the teams that are participating today in total standings. A couple of teams on there that we talked about already, TSM, Team Liquid. Solafide is a team that we haven't talked about just yet. They're a squad that did incredibly well. They took them a second place finish in online tournament number 2. Metro and Co. They're no longer playing with Turns. They're going to be playing with Clarify, who I believe came from the Flying Saucerer. So a slight mix-up in that roster. But keep an eye out in Solafide. You cannot deny how good this team is. And such a great story with Metro, former competitive football player, was going to go to college to play football, decided to pursue a career in competitive gaming due to an injury, and has dominated the Apex scene in recent tournaments as kind of a dark horse. So any other teams that maybe we haven't talked about yet that stick out to you on this list here, Hadzik?
Absolutely. A couple of them. In fact, Dream Team, with being Rogue, Prodigy, Aces, and help. I think they're they are a squad that's been hard grinding this game. They haven't taken any breaks since Prodigy Aces came back to Apex from Fortnite, so they've been hard at the grind for quite some time now. And as well Skirt, which is I'm Madness, Powery, and or Pow Pow and Scurry. They've also been drumming up a storm actually in scrims. They're known as a very, very aggressive team because they fight very well together. I know they annoy a lot of teams because of it, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them like kind of squirt out on top as well.
Yep. Yeah, of course. I'm Manus, formerly of that CLG squad that everyone loved to watch, those entertaining teams with no Cocoa Puffs and Nicewig. Big shout out to those two. Very positive, awesome individuals. We'll see what Manus can do representing that old squad, that old roster that we knew and loved. A couple teams on that list, undoubtedly, but we do have some teams to watch that we'll be taking a look at momentarily as well. Of course, the teams you talked about on that list. Another one is Fishers, that is not on this teams to watch list, but I have as underdog. Former United squad, Teenage Crust and Co. I think they're going to be another top one. But of the teams that we know are some highly competitive teams, we have TSM, we have the new Rogue squad playing alongside Snipedown for the very first time. So Snipedown gets what is undoubtedly kind of a level up in terms of two phenomenal individual players. Complexity, we talked a lot about. Skirt, you just mentioned. And of course, Team Liquid, Flanker, Casper, and Co. is they're going to be looking to secure the first back-to-back ever in Apex outside of TSM. Any teams, of course, we talk about TSM often. Do you think of the remaining four teams, do you think Team Liquid's going to stay consistent, or do you really think that we're going to see something big come out of Complexity here today?
It's going to be tough. I know Team Liquid. I keep watch of all the scrims and everything. I know Team Liquid's been fearing Complexity. I've watched them scrim against them, and I know they basically, if they see Complexity, they run the other way because they know. I mean, they're afraid to fight them. I think any team rightfully should be. They are, especially now with Lou on their roster, they are by far one of the scrappiest teams in NA, if not probably the scrappiest. I mean, I've played a lot alongside Monsoon and Lou, and I played against them too, and they are not fun to fight. Let me tell you that.
Not fun to fight, but very fun to play with. I'm lucky.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
A lot of people had a chance to play some games. You're right, though. It's interesting. A lot of people see Monsoon on Twitter, see how he's literally the most hilarious and entertaining human being. But if you have a deep conversation with Monsoon about Apex, I'm sure you've had quite a few of them, Hodsec. He is a brilliant mind, and his approach to this game is almost unmatched compared to the rest of the scene. Talk to me a bit about Monsoon as a player.
Yeah, I mean, he's always impressed me. I've known Monsoon since before Apex, but we weren't really that close until this game came out and we started scrimming together early on. He's a really, really unique player in the way he plays Wraith. And this isn't by any means downplaying any other Wraiths in the game. He just plays it very differently in terms of, and I know Lou will agree to this, but he finds openings in fights that you would never think of. There are times where like he's very good at doing a lot of damage and communicating that, which is a very difficult skill to do. That requires a lot of focus to clearly communicate everything you're doing while also doing it very well. On top of that, there are some times he goes silent, and you know when he goes silent in the middle of a fight that he is just going crazy, and the only thing you can do is just make sure you can keep up with him. Yeah, just keep up with him, support him as best as you can. He will carry that fight. There are a lot of really other good Wraiths that are great at other like different things, but he just plays it such a different way that it makes him an extremely valuable pickup in any team, and Complexity is very lucky to have him.
Yeah, great insight. I know you've had a chance as a close friend of his to play a lot with him, have a lot of conversations with him, so good to get your perspective. I could hardly tap my head and rub my belly at the same time, let alone do everything Monsoon does in-game in addition to communicating out and kind of playing that IGL or in-game leader role for his team. So big shot to Monsoon. However, we've been talking about it day in and day out ever since the last online tournament 2 weeks ago. Team Liquid and TSM, quite the rivalry right now. We had Team Liquid for the very first time dethrone TSM. That will be a storyline we're going to keep an eye out for. And one player that made a significant impact for that Team Liquid squad is Casper. We had a chance to catch up with Casper and learn a little bit about his story. Let's take a look.
Dirtiest player on my team is probably me, 100%. But anytime I kill somebody, I'll end up throwing a little teabag or a shooting of the box, if you will. There's no way, dude. My name is Brendan Marino. I go by Casper, and I play for Team Liquid. I am 26 years old. I'm one of the more older players in the pro scene. Knowing that in tournaments like these, a lot of inexperienced people kind of crack under pressure and they'll get nervous. And, that's when decisions are made that are incorrect. The many years that I have in experience in professional gaming, I still feel like even though of my age, that I'm still someone that you should be worried about. I have a personality, to say the least. I'll just start singing random songs. Justin Bieber's one of my go-tos. You got that yummy, 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 yummy.
Oh, on me! What?
So my role is basically, I'm kind of like the co-IGL, like Nocturnal kind of main calls. He'll call rotations, I'll call positioning and late game fighting and things like that. My legend of choice is Pathfinder, and that's more because of how we play. I scan beacons right off spawn, so that way we know exactly where to go. And then his high ground take ability is huge in terms of being able to win team fights effectively. So for online tournament 2, I woke up that day for qualifier, and I had the sore throat and the coughing. I was just really sick, fever. After the tournament, I went and got tested, and then about 2 hours after that was when I got told I tested positive for the coronavirus. It's the stress and everything makes it very hard to recover.
What's in the corner? On me. What's dead? Let's go!
To win and be able to actually perform this time around, since I wasn't as sick, it felt amazing, especially because of how hard my team worked in the previous tournament to get us to the finals when I wasn't able to do much. And then it felt a lot better to be able to help to finally get the win in the final game. But the feeling of that was just, I can't even explain it. I just remember just standing up and just screaming. After that, I got really lightheaded and didn't feel too well, but it was really amazing feeling.
Casper putting in work with that massive, and now it's down to about 30 HP between health.
If we continue to get better and do what we need to do and do our jobs, I think that we have a very fair chance of becoming to the outside world as one of the top teams now in North America. It's a very kind of surreal feeling.
And that is going to do it! Team Liquid wins! Team Liquid wins!
Great insight from the mind and the voice of Casper of Team Liquid, and to hear directly from him the adversity that he went through as an individual over the online tournament number 2 and 3 period, fighting the coronavirus, but still performing at the rate that he did is just admirable, to say the least. Still performing at such a high level. Very interesting things. Make sure to tweet at us using hashtag ALGS. We'll be reading your tweets throughout the broadcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts and perspective, but massive kudos and massive respect goes to Casper, undoubtedly, Hotzik.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't. I struggle to compete at like the high level that is required. If I have a headache or like a stomach ache or something, my focus is out the window. I can't even imagine what he had to deal with to have to be able to not only play well but actually pull through on a win.
Yeah, there's been a lot of 90s Bulls Michael Jordan hype and mania going on right now. We all know about his infamous grand finals flu game. Casper channeling his inner Jordan with his coronavirus game and still performing incredibly well. But now he's healthy. He's ready to go. Casper is alongside Nocturnal flanker Team Liquid, looking to repeat as back-to-back champions of online tournament number 4. The storyline and the stage is undoubtedly set here as we have 2 great teams and a rivalry that's forming, but they're playing with 18 other squads. There's even teams like On the Hunt, who's been competed in 3 out of 4 tournaments of our online tournaments and has played incredibly well. They're coming from a variety of other titles, and I'm excited. I mean, regardless, we have some great storylines with our Titans, with our top teams and our top players, some awesome storylines with some lesser-known players who have qualified through the open tournament and open format. It's one last thought from you, Hodzik, about this open format. It's not just invite only; anyone can compete. Your perspective on the online tournament format and the qualifiers, since I know you've had a chance to watch them and compete in them.
Yeah, it's definitely getting better from the initial version of it, where it was only a best of 3, and that's just not enough games to prove. Even best of 4 feels a little bit too little, but at the same time, in the interest of time, I mean, these qualifiers for those, because they're not typically streamed on one stream like this one, they take the entire day. So best of 4, definitely a step up. And this format is actually we saw earlier in the EU games, it's only 5 games, which isn't a lot, but it can make for some really action-packed games where every game matters. You can't just do really well one game and then kind of write yourself off and then drop a donut in terms of points and then just try to pick it up after that. Every single game counts. So what matters most isn't that you get a high kill win or 2 or 3 of them. It's all about consistency, which I think Team Liquid actually proved. They had 3 second places, a 7th place, and a 1st place in the last tournament. It's all about consistency.
Yep, still remaining consistent, but you got to be a top placer as well. This is obviously 5 games compared to our epic 11 or 12 game series that we had in Krakow. Of course, if you're a fan of Apex Legends, make sure to drop a follow on all social media channels at Play Apex to keep up with all things competitive and regular Apex Legends. And of course, you can get some more info about the ALGS at playapex.com/ALGS. You could register yourselves and play in the next online tournament or in future ones to come around the globe. There's regional tournaments for everyone around the world, which is great to see. It looks like we are gearing up and getting ready for what is going to be an epic game number 1 and an even more epic 5-game online tournament number 4. We are set up with so many great storylines, Team Liquid versus TSM and that rivalry, or will we see the likes of a Complexity, a Rogue, Skirt, or another squad come out of nowhere and place top 1 and knock down TSM and Team Liquid to throw their names into that mix. We are gearing up and getting ready. Looks like the game is ready to load. The drop ships are loading up, and we're going to go ahead and throw over to Onset and Bravo, our casters, to take away game number 1. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Fallout and Hotsec, thank you guys so much. Onset cannot wait to jump into the North American Finals with you. You and I have casted many FPS games together, but this is our first Apex match together, and it's going to be an awesome night of North American action.
Yeah, I mean, awesome night is an understatement. There are so many different aspects of this North American final that make it such compelling watching for everybody. We have TSM, we have that story. Can they bounce back from a disappointing second place finish, which is incredible to say a second place finish is disappointing. We have Liquid, that story there. Can they go back to back? And then we have some huge team changes on the likes of Complexity and the Rogue lineup as well. Are they going to make the difference to push these teams into those top spots? If you're not excited about what's about to go down now in this next 5 games, then you're watching the wrong broadcast. I cannot wait to get into this action, Andy.
Me too. Let's go ahead and kick things off now with some team comms.
Death, like winter, is unavoidable.
Take things too far, man.
We got this. We got this. Focus up. Focus up. Only game callouts right now.
Pussy
we win.
Money,
we win these.
All the Thomas needs.
You fucking drop. I should have dropped solo.
I think we're getting train. We're getting train and train.
That's not funny. Sorry.
What?
We have a team right here.
Yeah, I'm worried about.
Are you?
They're going lava. I'll go train. Yeah, we're good. I don't think anyone's going drill. There's no one going drill, dude.
No, there's a team going there right now.
No, there's not. They're going to fucking lava.
Oh, okay. Well.
What? Cringe. Imagine being.
I can go rotate to it after. But...
We got Valky. We got Valky. I don't have a gun to shoot it down.
Oh, we have to bounce. Actually.
I'm shooting it.
No. You want to do that? Or are you handling Valky?
I'll
do
grab
it.
Scout.
G7 Scout.
Actually, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to even get to you guys.
And what a treat there on set. A little bit of Liquid comms. If you've been following along on Twitter, you might know why we start off with the Liquid comms, and you might actually have a little bit more context into why they were talking about their drops, their beacons at drill. A little bit of early tension already heating up between Team Liquid and TSM on Twitter before the North American action kicked off.
Yeah, and if you have not been able to look at that, like Andy said, the two teams, we were saying there's a bit of a rivalry there between first and second place. Well, we've seen that it means a little bit more than that. There's been a little bit of back and forth between the two teams. Even in the pre-game lobby, there was a few, team names being changed to maybe just try and antagonize the other one and make them think. And I'll be honest with you, Andy, from those team comms there, it looked like maybe it had, just for a moment at least, got in the head of that Team Liquid team.
It certainly, whether it got in their heads, it certainly got into the strat. You heard that they maybe should have gone drill, as the team that they thought originally was flying drill actually was going on to Lava Fisher, so might have been able to get that split beacon. But in the end, we got to take a look here at Bow Down. They are inside the bottom of this thermal area, trying to win some battles here, only knocked in turns. So alive, they placed second to last in their semifinal, but they've made it here to the finals.
Yeah, they made it to the finals, and, unfortunately, dropping early in game number 1, I think, is pretty much the worst possible time to drop, right? Game number 1, you want to kind of solidify your position in a lobby as far as the end game leaderboard is going to be. You want to get at least middle of the pack. Give yourself something to work with. Give yourself the opportunity to play your game for another 2 or 3 games. So being taken out as one of those first couple of teams, not only does it hurt you as far as, the game that you're in itself, but it puts that bad juju on you as well, doesn't it? The team comms are going to be a little bit flat in that second game. You have to look to your IGL, to the big characters in your team, to bounce back almost immediately.
That's a first look at TSM, as they're going to go ahead and get a look at sorting. They're actually going to make their way into this side of sorting to see what they're going to be able to find here. Of course, they know that they need to head all the way down even further. And you heard Liquid say it, perfectly in their team comms. Boys, we got to move just because we are pulling all the way southeast here, all the way down to Lava City. And at TSM, to be honest, they're looking healthier than they sometimes are at this point in the game because, they are such an early rotate team that they're willing to rotate on sometimes triple white armor, or we've even seen worse. But them being on 2 blues at this stage, already rotating this quickly, they're going to be playing pretty comfortable on set.
Yeah, meticulous in the way that they like to leave their landing spot. They always try and get out at a certain time, and if that means sacrificing loot along the way in order to progress their game later on by getting a better position on the map, they're more than happy to do that. We've talked about it a lot. It's ever since they were playing on Kings Canyon and they were landing in the cage, their priority has always been to get to the best spot possible as quickly as possible. Then they back themselves in the first fight they have to take with a mechanical skill to potentially win a fight and then pick up their loot from there. So TSM, perfect execution of what we would expect to see from them. And the fact that they've rotated so deep into the west side, to the south side of the map, without coming under any pressure whatsoever, is going to be a perfect start for them.
And Hal is about to find it. For anyone who just did see a little bit of glimpses of the minimap, Hal is about to find a whole bunch of action. There's already, at least as I take a quick look, minimum 3 teams already in that dome part of lava, so expect a lot of intensity there without a doubt. Hal's not going to be able to have free reign. There's actually, you see a very quick look there at the obs. Take a look at just how many teams have gotten into the dome proper, already set up there. Now we also see Johnny, RKN, and Petty Boss making their way into sorting a little bit later as well. This is going to be the ALGS Points Farmers is the team name they played on this week. They did come in 5th in their semifinal, just behind Skirt and just ahead of Rogue.
Yeah, long rotation for these guys from the north side of the map to get towards where this end circle is going to be. So they might come into some traffic once you start getting towards that choke, maybe towards the dome and towards Lava City. And again, we're just kind of seeing posturing at the moment for teams, trying to find that best spot on the map. What's our clearest rotation? Is there a fight going on if we're rotating late as well that we could take advantage of, that we could look to third party and then take that spot off of them? So many decisions have to go through a team's mind before they even engage in a fight to give themselves the most advantageous position for a fight in the game.
Here are the Points Farmers actually just opting to go straight through the choke rather than fighting whatever was on the other side of that TP. It's a wise decision because we know as the later it gets in the game, just how difficult the choke like that is to get through. They've done very well to make sure they're getting into dome instead of worrying about having to fight a team on the sorting factory side choke. As you see, every piece of this lava area going to be building up. Even few teams still taking that Lava City area, knowing that it's likely so far going to pull away from Lava City, pull a little bit further west and also to the south. But of course, we'll have to see it when they get that next beacon as well. Also, a little bit of battles here happening in Cave just north of Dome.
Yeah, 19 squads remaining, so not too much action to report of, as we could see by the overhead map and the fact that there's so many teams in such a tight area already around that dome area of the map. But this isn't a bad position to hold here in this cave. The connection between Lava City and Dome, although if you're having to exit, especially towards the Dome side, you're going to have to fight at a pretty severe disadvantage just due to the height that is coming in. It's not a bad place to rotate from if you see the opening or if your Wraith can hit a good portal and find you a safe spot.
And a great switch here from our observer team. We're now over to Solafide, which is the team that is poking and pressuring into Cave. A little bit of a battle here. Like you said, the side, I believe that was Second Nature, if I'm not mistaken. That yes, it was, who has now been Watsoned up. And they're the team on your screen right here. They're going to be comfortable. Onset, you made a great point. They have obviously a tri-choke like this in Caves. They have all sorts of options in terms of getting out. How easily those chokes will be exited has yet to be seen, but they certainly have options right now on paper. Solafide actually opting to not challenge anymore. They're going to go back to Lava City and do a little bit of wrapping around.
Yeah, smart decision from them. Don't take that early engagement unless you need to, unless you feel comfortable. And just looking across the armors as well, the fact that you've got the Evo shield on the Gibby, they don't really want to take an up close range battle. They want to try and get that Evo shield as leveled up as they possibly can before they engage in any kind of close quarter battle. So I think that's why they may be thinking, let's back down from this one. Let's try and find a safer spot and maybe just pepper a few players with the Gibby player, get Metro up to a better level on the Evo.
Yeah, taking a very long route here, and we'll have to see how it plays out for them. They're actually going all the way around the sorting side of this as well as we go back down and see exactly how they'll be able to get through, maybe pressure the other side of Cave. They knew that they had a little bit too much pressure because the last choke they were pushing, of course, also had Lava City right next to it, which put them in a little bit more danger than maybe they would have liked. Now they're maybe going to try a separate cave entrance here. They'll have time to reset, but take a look now at Turns and company once again under pressure. As a reminder, this is Bow Down as 6 already going down. Now it's up to Noct and Turns again, finding even more trouble. But keep in mind, this is the first team we saw early on in the game that had to win that battle against Yeet Squad.
Yeah, and this is such a tough battle to take as well. If you're moving up towards Dome from that low ground through that choke, it's pretty much like no man's land, right? You've got an absolute army just lined up in front of you. So many teams who are going to be watching for easy kill points, for easy shots to be put down that we'd already seen had rotated early in towards Dome. If they can get through there without losing a player, that's an amazing achievement from them, but it looks like it's going to be a little bit too difficult for them to do.
And look at Nocturnal here in all sorts of hurt. We talked about Team Liquid and the start that they were going to have. Of course, they were able to get not exactly the loot that they typically do, as we heard them changing that strategy up, not sending one drill. However, a tough scenario as they're going to have to try to get some sort of recovery. It'd be so difficult at this stage of the game, especially with where we are with this end circle. Regardless of end circle, that's a tough call. But now Turns is going to go down as well as we take a look, and it's only going to be a Noct is going to be able to try to get them back in. And no, that will be it. They will go out. That's going to be Bow Down, your second team to exit here. Game number 1 for North America.
Yeah, KP's going down to Team Skirt there as well. Madness's new team. I'm sure, like was mentioned on the desk beforehand, you know, the ex-CLG player, this is the first time since that roster that he's managed to qualify for an online tournament final. So shout out to Madness and all that he has managed to put together with this team and the success that he's had. And I'm sure that now he's in this final, it's not just a case of getting to the final. He's going to want to reprove himself as a player and as a top contender here in the ALGS.
Absolutely. If you're a fan of Madness, whether you watch his streams, I mean, absolutely great guy. Love to watch his comms. Such a positive player and love the way that he plays the game. So looking to see what they'll be able to do. Like you said, looking to make a statement here at this event. And the same can be said really for each of the CLG guys that have gone their separate ways and looking for success with different rosters. A little bit of shield swapping here. Purple will go to the Wraith for the side of RKN, Johnny, and Petty Boss. Once again, this is the ALGS Points Farmers looking to farm some points, not only in Game 1, but throughout all 5 games here. If you're just joining us, this is the Apex Legends Global Series. Game number 1 for North America. We'll have 5 games this evening to determine the winner of online tournament number 4. TSM, the undisputed champion until the last tournament where Team Liquid stole from them. Essentially, it took a year, not necessarily of competitive tournaments, but of Apex Legends' lifespan before TSM lost. Team Liquid now the team on top as things, once again, as we said, are heading down towards the Dome for our first end circle.
50 or so seconds left on this circle as well, and it seems like most teams at the moment have managed to find at least a spot to hold down for now. When that ring does close, however, and we do see that shift, that's when we're going to see teams desperately fighting for the better spots as they know where that ring is going to end. So again, we're going to be on board with a lot of Wraith point of views who are going to be scouting out. That's why you give them that better armor. Like we saw that armor swap a little bit earlier. I'm sure a few people who are watching for the first time are thinking, hey, why are you giving Wraith the better armor here? You know, I can do the damage if I'm in game. I want that armor. Well, the Wraith is going to be the most aggressive player. He's going to be the one that's pushing out and trying to scout out different positions. So if you can give him all the HP you can to get out of those positions, you need to do that.
Absolutely. As we take a look now, of course, also another advantage of that, giving that purple to the Wraith, is the Wraith's going to be able to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe getting a little bit of extra loot, etc. Maybe spending a portal, depending on the rotation timing as well. So that Wraith certainly can be creative. Now take a look and see if Pride can make something happen. This is a spot that we've actually seen, you know, I know Hotsick is a big fan of this hold and also establishing presence in this way, not just in the trailer, but also a little bit further out. But they are knowing the Sola Fide side that they're going to have to move as well. This end circle onset is one of those, as we take a look at kind of everything that's been held up, is everything will come to madness real quick in terms of teams having to exit the Southwest Lava City buildings, in terms of teams having to move from lava fields into closer to the Dome complex. Everything is going to heat up all at once. It's going to be absolute carnage. The Dome is known. If you look at that entire area, it's essentially the entire playable area as the original capital city, however, with, I would say, roughly 15% of the cover. So it will get pretty crazy here towards the late game.
Yeah, we are going to see teams start dropping very, very soon as this ring starts to close in and this ring starts to collapse. We can see Complexity's point of view at the moment, and it looks like they're playing for a late rotation into the circle as well. A huge addition of Lou to the lineup as well. If you thought that Monsoon was one of the most technically and mechanically gifted players that Apex Legends have, well, I would say that a close second has to be Lou in that conversation. Such a fantastic player to watch, but an interesting thing for me is the fact that Lou kind of made his name on the Pathfinder. Now we're seeing him on the Gibraltar. Is he going to be able to bring that kind of flair that he did on the man who has the grapple?
Right, that is the question we saw earlier today as IPN moving into that caustic of all roles, which you'd call me crazy if you heard me say that a few months ago, but moving into the caustic role on the new team and finding good success today as a second place finish. That is the question. Also to see what Lou will do. You heard a lot in the pregame also talking about what Lou brings to this Complexity roster alongside Reptar and Monsoon. Of course, Mirko being the one that was swapped out for Lou, and a lot of promise in this roster as well. Of course, some notable omissions from today's event as well. Fnatic North America did miss the finals by 1 point in the semis as well. Also, No Coco's team, LAN, not here. However, 20 teams in this lobby very hungry to take home a first-place victory. And if you did catch Europe, you heard us talking a lot about how there is not a cemented Europe story yet in terms of who are the top 1, 2, 3. However, in North America, it's a very different story. It's very top-heavy, and really these teams are fighting for who are the next few between Liquid and TSM. But keep in mind that Liquid and TSM roster, both of them need to perform today to keep those stories alive as well.
I do think that gap is closing at the top, though. We saw it with the Liquid win. We've seen it with some of the performances in scrims recently from different teams. It's really becoming a case of TSM. Yes, you're brilliant. Yes, you're good. Yes, you've had all this success, but how long can you keep that going? People are going to watch how you play. They're going to learn. Can you adapt to how people are going to try and play around you? That's a really big question for me. But if there is 3 players, of course, that are going to be able to adapt and do that, it's going to be TSM. But now we're going to see a few pushes coming in, Andy. As one team does get wiped, that's going to be our second team who are going to be taking out the game.
Yeah, that's big time. With a big time push there as well. Mercy Only, CAC, and Gizmac. They actually placed third in their semifinal behind only Solafide and On the Hunt. So certainly a team that we are going to want to watch out for at this event. Just like that, 15 squads left as we take a look to see Madness fall in the feed as well.
Now this is where things get very, very interesting. This is where you see the posturing kind of stop, and you're going to have to see teams getting up in each other's faces and essentially fighting for positions on the map, because the smaller that ring gets, the less positions there are to hold down. I know it sounds very simple, but execution in these moments is huge. Not only on your rotation, where you want to move to, but actually winning the gunfight as well. Sometimes we talk about rotation and all these crazy things that Apex Legends pros have to put into their game. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to a fight, you got to win that fight. You got to hit those shots. And obviously having the better armor and weaponry is going to help you along the way.
Yeah, this is Happy Campers, by the way, and we haven't talked about them yet in the show, but of course they just put this zip up. They're going to be flying in the Dome Complex. They placed second, losing only to TSM in their final. They're able to make it, but they took a lot of damage on the way, and they're going to desperately try to stay alive here as they have to fight off multiple angles. Good damage coming in from Fury, as we're going to see a little bit of healing coming off for Phony as well.
Yeah, RKN, they were great. Good shots. They were great shots with the Havoc. Just absolutely beamed the player down. It was RKN, but we are going to see a res come in here. They are playing the Gibraltar, so they've managed to get that player back up with that increased res ability speed that you have inside that Gibraltar bubble. And now we're going to see the portal coming out. And this is where I talk about how important the wraiths are on the rotation. Can you find your teammates a safe spot? Essentially, you have your team's game in your hands. You need to keep them safe, but it looks like he's been spotted out and he's just run into trouble.
And that's why you saw Petty Boss get the purple earlier. He's now able to retreat. Likely you heard him saying absolutely do not take this port, as it is not safe. They're going to have to look into a plan B here. They're instead going to continue to move up and also take the zip that we just saw get thrown down by the Happy Campers team. They'll fly in. Scissors is in trouble. Bubble does go down. Fury will go down as well alongside it. Phony and Scissors desperately trying to get a few heals off. They're going to need to work together here. Good damage coming in from the R9, but looks like a Wraith is going to come in and join the party. They need to be careful. Scissor trying to make something happen. It's a miracle zip out. Woo! And somehow is able to find cover for just a moment now. Only half HP. Gets a sell off for just a second. No, that will be them out. Happy Campers. They will be eliminated. 12 squads left just like that.
Yeah, Happy Campers getting eliminated, like you mentioned, and the Pathfinder zipping into pocket of space, and you probably thought he was going to be comfortable for just a few seconds, but eliminated immediately. Looking at the kill feed now, and Rogue are picking up kills. Everyone is starting to drop as this ring closes in. Round number 4 is about to be over. Things are about to get spicy.
Yeah, here's Rocker, Teen, and Crust. Fisher's now the ex-E United guys sitting on triple purples, and now with some great positioning here as well. Thermite went down, but in a strange angle, does not do any damage there, so they're going to have to continue watching that front door as well. That PK is still out and going to be able to lock down that area for them momentarily.
Yeah, and Rocker obviously a new addition to this lineup as well after replacing the Lyric, so a little bit of team cohesion got to be found, but we know how talented these players are from what they've achieved already, and with these PK shots indicating just that as well. That's going to be another player taken down. Helping goes down to the hands of Crust, and now he's going to retreat back. KP on the board here for Crust and the boys.
Able to take down Rogue as well in the feed. You do see Zeratricky falling to Lou, so now we are into that top 10. Complexity still picking up some kills along the way. Reptar also going to take down Drop. That's the first time we've even seen the Rogue side here. And now take a look. You heard it talked about once again before the match has started. Snipedown joining Sweet and Dropped for this event, but they're going to need to fight out of this to see something better than a top 10.
Across the board at the moment, and keeping my eyes on the kill feed because Lou's just managed to take down Dropped once again, and it looks like Complexity are trying to bully their way into some kill points at the moment. 9 squads remaining at the moment, which means, as I say, things are going to get a little bit hectic, but it also means with this circle there's still a little bit of space and still some available spots for teams to try and hold down, so maybe not going to get crazy as immediately as we would expect with more teams left in the lobby, maybe like we saw in Europe, but when it gets to those moments, now is where you really have to turn up for your team.
Yep, here's Sweet Dreams now. The Wraith on gold, working together with Snipedown. And right now, for the moment, looks like they'll be able to pick their next move carefully, avoiding this ult. And that's going to give a moment for Snipedown to pop that bat as well. Now 7 squads just like that. We do see Gizmac, Mercy Only, the side of Big Time dropping in the feed. Also Smile, some extra KP going to the Complexity side. We just saw at least 2 more for Lou. 6 squads left.
Yeah, I'm looking at TSM at the moment, and I'm just looking across their armory, essentially blue shields, a Kraber in the hands of Hal, but I also saw in the kill feed as well, I believe there's a Kraber and a Mastiff in the hands of 2 of the Complexity players. So 2 huge gold weapons to pick up on a map drop for those guys means that they might have an opportunity to push and create an opening for themselves. But looking at Rocker, Teen, and Crust, and they're holding down a pretty solid position. One of the only buildings left in this circle, so they can play nice and slow. They can bide their time and try and pick off kills as they come to them.
There's a beautiful bubble there from Rocker just to establish kind of a front porch scenario there, as able to just lock down the entire area, extend but not get poked. You see they did take a little bit of extra damage. Rocker was only outside of the dome for a split second, but looks like we're on the receiving end of at least 2 or more scout shots, maybe some R9 action in there as well, but he is now full healed. Like you said, Onset, they're sitting pretty, one of the last pieces of real estate available in game number 1. Now back to Lou, Reptar, and Monsoon on double purple and a gold as well, getting ready to make their push, but need to be careful they don't take too much poke before getting inside to make that push on Rocker and team.
Yeah, they got a beautiful little head glitch to work around, though, so they're going to be in a pretty safe position. I think Hao has realized that he needs to hit a big Kraber shot here. 3 bullets in the chamber to work with, and if he hits 1, then TSM might be able to push, but unfortunately for Hao, he just couldn't find a target that was willing to show themselves to give him the opportunity to land that shot.
Absolutely. Now taking a look here once again at Sweet and Snipedown. Still this team of 2 looking to do what they can. Sweet gets melted, needs to be very careful, and will need to make sure that he gets some heals off. Curious to see what Hal can do with the Kraber. Also, like Hotsix says, TSM, the best team maybe in the world at playing on bad loot. They're only on blues. They're going up against several purples and golds, but they're going to be looking to make some big plays here. Now Snipedown and Sweet still.
Hal has dropped in the kill feed. I just noticed Hal has gone down, so now it's just Alwaleli and Reps who are left. I don't know if the kill got finished or not. I wasn't able to catch
Thirsted,
that
I believe.
very quickly.
Thirsted,
so that is going to be Imperial Hal out of the game, Andy. And that means that Complexity are in possession here. They're taking the height as well. And as I mentioned, the big thing for me is that Mastiff. I think that could be a real game changer for Complexity.
Absolutely. You saw it in the feed already. I believe it was in the hands of Lou. Now with just 4 squads left, so just to keep track of everyone, we do have the Rogue side. Complexity up top on the roofs. TSM, of course, still in play. And a 4th squad, potentially partial. Actually, excuse me, certainly partial based on the player count.
So now, with teams all finding a position, it's a case of who wants to poke first, who wants to try and land a big PK shot, who wants to try and land that Mastiff shot. Do you try and hold on? As we see, Lou is the man who does have that Mastiff set up top. He's going to have gun shield up as well on that Gibraltar, so he's getting in a prime position if anyone dares to poke him to hit the shots. And I talked about mechanical ability. It's very unlikely if someone is to show themselves right now to Lou that he is going to miss this shot.
And Rogue have done very well here. Look at that. Also a drop of the Evo there. I believe we saw Sweet already having 4 kills. Lou and Monsoon also having 3 kills apiece as well. So much higher kill count game already than we saw in our first games of Europe amongst the top teams. That's what you expect to see in North America as well. 22 seconds before things will get real thin. I believe you just heard somewhere a pre-portal getting traced, likely on the low ground as well. You can see that Monsoon and company are also trying to check out to see exactly where that might be. This is the time where would love to hear Team Comms. Cannot wait to go back and see if I can catch, if they don't delete their scrim VODs, exactly what's going on here. But here's that pre-portal I was talking about. Sweet now tracing that and getting to that ready for some late game action. By the way, that red did go to snipe down that Evo shield fully charged. And now, right now, a push actually coming out on the roof. That's going to be Complexity pushing up.
Yeah, Complexity aren't afraid to try and get aggressive, and that's exactly what they're doing. And you can see Rogue and Snipe Down, they're just going to let this all happen above them. They're quite happy to see exchanges of kills in the feed. And that, as we move towards the end circle, Andy, Complexity, they look like they could be in trouble here.
And that's it. I just see the drop down comes through in the end. Taking a look at exactly how that did go down, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that will be a Complexity victory. A little bit of a stutter there on my observer feeds. We'll go ahead and get confirmation there. But yes, indeed, it's going to be Lou, Reptar, and Monsoon who are able to close it out in the end. And like we saw, that was their game to lose. They're able to hold that high ground. TSM, uncharacteristically, in that final 4 or 3, one of the first teams to fall. So it's surprising to see. Very curious to see also on replay if we get to see from the odds exactly what went wrong with TSM. But in the end, Complexity was too strong. Like you said, Mastiff in hand, they're able to hold it down from the rooftop. They played the height really well.
Yeah, a little bit of a missed call from me, as you said, Andy. A little bit of a stutter on our end, so we couldn't quite catch the end of the game. But Complexity, as I say, they played that perfectly. They had the high ground, they had the weaponry and the armor. When you're in that position, it's just a case of hitting your shots. And if there's players that you want to hit your shots, name any of the 3 Complexity players to do it. They close out the game. And if I'm not mistaken, just looking across as well, big kills as well for them. Monsoon with 7 kills, Reptar with 2, and Lou with 3. So 12 kills and a first place. Shades of what happened last week, though, Andy. And then they kind of fell away after that big game one.
Absolutely. As we also saw big kills coming in for a few teams there. TSM, not one of them. They actually are going to place 4th, but we did see some big numbers across the board. In the end, it was going to be 2nd place going to the side that we eventually saw in the end. As we take a look across at the teams now, just taking a quick peek at the stats to see where everything went. By the way, got to talk about Rogue, a team with huge kill numbers there. They placed 3rd. They outplaced TSM and also blow away their kill points as well. We're going to take a look at those stats and a lot more now, going ahead back to the analyst test to get us ready for game number 2.
Bravo on set. Thank you so much for calling a great game number 1. And what a game number 1 it was. Fallout here joined back alongside Hodzik to break down some of the action and what we saw. A lot to discuss, but I think what stood out the most is Hodzik, first off, you look great. Calling Complexity potentially be the team to dethrone TSM or Team Liquid. They come out strong with a game 1 victory.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are such a smart team filled with, on top of just being some of the most mechanically gifted players. It does not surprise me that they take that victory home.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they did the same exact thing in online tournament number 3. This is almost history repeating itself a little bit. It started very, very strong. Big question was consistency. Big question was how they finished. That's the thing of Monsoon and Co. is his highs are incredibly high. Not that his lows are low per se, but Complexity in the past has not had the consistency of a TSM or a Team Liquid. Big difference now in this roster. We talked a lot about the return of Lou and Monsoon as a duo, former FlyQuest teammates. We know the impact that Lou can have in a team, and it certainly showed. That was not only a win, that was a dominant Game 1 win with a lot of kills coming through as well. What is it about this Complexity squad that makes them so great?
It's just chemistry, man. I mean, Monsoon and Reptar at this point have been teammates for a little bit, so they've worked on that chemistry. But right up until the time that FlyQuest unfortunately let go of the team and got out of Apex, that team was actually feared more than any other team in the NA region, especially in scrims. I mean, they were winning everything, that trio. So to put the 2 powerhouses of that team back together, it's massive. It's hard to top that.
Taking a look now at the late game of this Complexity squad, is they were able to position themselves perfectly, staying on top of the house right there and of the building location as they got challenged, actually. So that was a near ideal situation for the two incomplete teams of two. That was TSM and Rogue, only had 2 members alive. Complexity got challenged towards high ground by the other team of 3. So that is exactly what you want to happen if you're one of those incomplete teams. Yet still, despite getting challenged, despite that pressure, Complexity was able to win that 3 versus 3 fight and then immediately look low side and pick up the remaining kills, as we just saw on screen right there, and come out on top. Any other thoughts from your perspective of how that late game top 4 teams played out?
Yeah, I loved. I think that was Fishers that pushed them.
Yep. Yep.
And I definitely can see why they would do that. It's a high ground position, assuming they can clean wipe them. I mean, at that point, like you're not rotating around them, right? If you rotate around them, you run into the other teams. So they thought probably like, let's just brute force it, try to kill them, or at least force them off the roof, and then they have the high ground right there. Which you saw it right at the end. Reptar had a really cheeky little perch up on the roof, just shooting. Like everybody was focused on Monsoon in the circle, but Reptar was above everybody, just helping Monsoon out, shooting everybody, calling people out. So really, really smart heads up play by Reptar. Just so well done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's something that Reptar, I think he's always been kind of an under-talked about or underrated or underestimated player. Obviously a great player when you're playing with Monsoon, when you're playing with Mirko, of course, a great individual player and an outspoken player of this former Complexity squad. Sometimes you're okay just doing the small things, and Reptar right there showing doing the small things really does make a difference. Meanwhile, Monsoon playing his role as Wraith, being kind of the top fragger, the first person to break ice and to draw so much attention to that Wraith, while Reptar was able to put in some great shots and close things out. Let's take a look at the overall standings, though. As a result of game number 1, we know Complexity took home first place. Fishers was right behind them. As we take a look at game 1 results, I believe, from a different week. Yep, it is. I think it's from a different week here. So our apologies for the error there. But we do know first place went in the hands of Complexity. Second place did go in favor of Fishers. And then third place with Rogue. Fourth place with TSM. So 4 of the top 4 teams were the teams that we kind of identified as teams to watch. Apex showing its consistency with its top teams always playing consistent and really showing in the finish. One other thing you pointed out, Team Liquid got taken out early, but I believe a member of Team Liquid, I think it was Flanker, was able to survive until top 5 and rat his way to a top 5 finish. Heads up play from Flanker.
That's not just heads up play. That's crazy. So I believe Nocturnal got picked first, the Wraith, and then Casper, the Pathfinder, got picked as well. I believe they both died when there were still 18 squads left. And crazy. A solo Watson in a pretty relatively open area with a couple holes in crannies and stuff. But a solo Watson riding their way to top 5 is really impressive. I would love to. I'm hoping he's recording or streaming, because I would love to see how he got that done. The rat plays are always very interesting to me.
Yeah, especially in that endgame ring. Let's talk a little about that ring. It was one of the most unique rings. I think we all agreed as a talent team. We've maybe seen it once or twice before. A unique ring and a unique finish that we haven't seen in any online tournament, at least. And a lot of open areas, especially towards the lava side of the dome. In some way, somehow, Flanker is able to survive as Watson until the very late game. Get a 5th place finish. TSM had first blood, I believe, or one of the first kills that they picked up for themselves on Team Liquid. So again, cannot write a better story between this Team Liquid and TSM rivalry. Don't want to belabor a point by any means, but undoubtedly a statement type of kill for TSM. TSM gets a 4th place finish, not the finish they would have liked. They did pick up a few kills as well. So TSM's currently sitting in a slightly good spot. Team Liquid was able to get some placement points and edge out of that as well. A couple other things that were very interesting to break down in that game. The aggression from the North American side of things. I know you've been talking a lot about it on your Twitter, and just in general, it's been a hot topic. Talk to me about North American aggression and what we saw right there as an example of that versus how the Europeans played more for placement.
Absolutely. And this is something I talked about right at the beginning of the European broadcast as well, is Europe is a lot more passive. NA is a lot more aggressive. And in the first game of the European, obviously the circles differ and the situations are all different, but the very first game of Europe had 18 squads left in the 4th zone. I believe this one had 12.
Yeah, 13 actually wrote down 13 or 12.
Yeah, it's just a world of a difference. NA, I don't know what it is, but NA is just way more likely to fight. You'd think you would see more Gibraltars, but I think we're seeing more Pathfinders regardless of that. But NA is definitely a lot more likely to try to go brute force that position that they really, really want.
Yeah, we were talking in off air, and you said it best. In NA, if they see an area and someone has that area, it's, hey, that's my area, I'm going to fight for it. They'll ego check you, for lack of better terms. In Europe, someone has that area, okay, no problem, I'll go find somewhere else to post up, and it becomes more of a real estate battle. But a lot more aggression, a lot more of early game fights that we're used to seeing in game number 1. We'll take a look at some of that aggression off the rip. We saw over here on Thermal Station a big initial fight coming through. Your former teammates turned into 6.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe they were contesting Bowser's team here, yeah. Pretty quick cleanup. 6 did go down, but Turns is able to get at least 2 of the kills, not cleaning up the rest of them. Pretty easy finish there.
Yep, so we're off the rip, you got a first kill. Of course, after that, we did see some early aggression coming through from Rogue, which we're used to seeing. Monsoon in the kill feed. Every top team, every top player in that kill feed is we're used to kind of expect to see. 10 squads remain over towards this dome side of the map, and this teenage crust former members of E United playing alongside Rocker, formerly of Team Squidward, getting themselves in an early game engagement, and that actually allowed them to take this entire real estate of this house and put some additional damage in. You heard Bravo call perfectly. Well-placed dome, giving them the ability to leverage this porch as their own, put some shots in, and pick up a few more kills as well for the Fisher squad, who ended up getting second place. So that was a crucial fight that gave them a second place finish in my eyes. And then ultimately, there was the push that came through as Monsoon was just causing so much disruption. Reptar and Monsoon, last 2 alive, they were able to pick up the remaining kills. They won that 3 versus 3 up top, and that resulted in a win. Nice shot to the face right there for Monsoon, as he was just looking for the last remaining members, and ultimately it was Complexity that ended up on top with the first place finish. Taking a look at the correct Game 1 results, our apologies for the error there before. Fishers, despite getting second place, actually outplaced with a 13-kill game from Rogue. 12 kills from Complexity. This is night and day from what we saw in Europe, as mentioned, Hodzik. Very similar to online tournament number 3, where we saw Complexity drop, I think, 17 or 18 in game number 1. Rogue and Complexity combined, 25 kills.
Yeah, I mean, that's I envisioned that this one was going to be a lot more top heavy. EU was very split, or spread out rather. The top 10 was all within like 10 to 15 points throughout the entirety of the tournament. This one's going to be a lot more top heavy. It's going to be a battle for at least a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see like probably like the top 5 be a lot different than like the bottom 5 or the bottom 5 to 10.
Yeah, much different way that we see things break down in the North American side of things. Obviously fun to watch, that's for sure. If you're a fan of competitive Apex, if you're a fan of the action, you love watching Monsoon snipe down, who is so incredibly good. We were talking about him in off air and how great of an individual his player he is on controller. He does not miss shots. If you miss a shot against Snipe Down, you're not going to win that fight because he's not going to miss on his end. One of the best controller players, one of the most storied players as a over 20-time champion in Halo, making the move over to Apex Legends, now playing Apex Legends competitively. It is quite the story from Snipe Down, currently playing with Rogue. You can, of course, keep up with all things Apex Legends at Play Apex on social media, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. You can check out clips and discussions from the competitive Apex, as well as all announcements for Apex Legends. Make sure to tweet out using hashtag ALGS right now. Tweet out using hashtag ALGS. We'll be keeping an eye on Twitter. We'd love to read some of your tweets and see some hype, see some excitement. And, of course, any contribution to the growth of competitive Apex is always great, always appreciated, because it's entertaining. We'll tell you that much. It's fun to watch. That is for sure. It looks like game number 2 is ready, as we are going to gear up for what is going to be a crazy game number 2. Game 1, we saw Complexity come out on top with the win. We saw it in online tournament number 3. Can Complexity this time around keep consistency and take home their first championship, or will we see TSM regain their title? Will Team Liquid show up bigger in game number 2? Only the future will tell. And to call the action, we have 2 of the greatest individuals, best personalities. We got Rain Day and we got Jamerson. Gentlemen, take it away with game number 2.
Thank you so much, fellas. Fallout, Hodzik killing on the desk as well. I'm here with Jamerson, Rain Day with you, and excited to talk game 2, man. We have a chance to cast again, buddy, and always good to be with you in the virtual booth here.
Yeah, I'm super excited because, this is basically how our week started last time when we were doing NA. I mean, we saw Complexity put up big numbers in game number 1. This time around, can they close it out? Remember last time, game number 1, they had 29 points. This time around, it's 24. Not as big, but still a great start. And TSM and Team Liquid both having slower starts again. Team Liquid, this time around, were able to scrounge up at least up to 5th place, since I believe it was 7th in their game number 1. And so we'll see how they round out games 2 through 5.
and a little bit of a back and forth too. I mean, you look at the trash talk a little bit on Twitter between both teams. Clearly, TSM disgruntled, doesn't want Liquid to come back and think they have this game on lock. TSM, they may have, maybe varied for a week as far as their results, but they expect to be right back at it. And we saw that in the results too. I mean, 4th and 5th, we saw the thirsting, I believe, it was Nocturnal by TSM. So they're neck and neck. This is only creating a greater narrative as we continue to head through it. But Jamerson, we've got some exciting things in Complexity. They do have to be at the top of our list for people to talk about, considering they did just prove that this is the game for them as far as game 1. Let's take a listen to Complexity as they drop in.
Shit plane.
No, that's what I was saying. It's a dog shit plane for us.
It's a good plane for our side, because then we'll be able to clearly tell who's going.
Yeah, I just feel like the team that's going Refinery is going to land on our side now. Watch out for them, they're right here. I can't ping it. They won't let me ping them. There.
Okay.
They're pretty low to the ground.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're gonna make it. They're gonna make it.
They're gonna make it? Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it, yeah. Yeah, they're flying over. They should.
Okay, cool.
Alright guys, game 2, baby. Keep it up. Stay warm.
Oh, this server's laggy, man. This server's so bad.
It's the fucking zone.
They switched the server.
It's the same exact zone.
We literally just do the same exact thing.
Yeah, but I'm lagging.
I'm lagging too.
Oh,
yeah, no, I'm lagging hard, bro. I hope they don't reset this game.
Shit.
We got double purple and I have PK.
I don't. They shouldn't.
All right. Well, we saw the early thoughts of Complexity as they were handing out all the compliments to themselves. Hey, keep it up, boys. We've done the same thing so far. We just got to keep it going. And of course, commenting on the laggy servers. How could they not? But so far, so good. They seem like they're in the marathon for the full win, Jamerson, as far as the results.
Yeah, I mean, they were doing a fantastic job of course, scouting out and making sure that they're going to be safe to go for this split. They've got one person going over to Survey Camp, picking up loot there, while 2 people are able to pick up all the loot over here at Epicenter, and then they'll go ahead and meet up. And it looks like we do have a similar circle. I'm still waiting to see on the... Yeah, it does pull down to the southeast, but this time I think it pulls a little bit harder to the east here. And so while it does look similar, there's a higher chance, I think, of it going on over to Lava City for this game.
Well, we've seen a ton of those as well online and throughout the broadcast as we catch in with a couple of flatline shots here. Shinpick and Huge Gorilla 47. Eyes on the prize right now. You've been maybe looking to push this. Don't want to get too aggressive early game. We know how much these points can matter, but we also know what it feels like to go down in game 2 when you're trying to get some momentum and die early. So you have to see how much you're willing to wager. It is a game of life and death here for them. So they're just going to play it patiently, Jamerson.
Yeah, they're facing off, up against Smile here on the other side. And this is a nice position for them to have, but they are just going to go ahead and back away. They don't want to take this 50-50. They just want to play for the late game instead. As you can see, it's blue armors for Mini and Unin, while Bronzy himself, of course, was playing with Golden Guardians, but he's I believe, the only player remaining from their Apex roster here is going to be joining them. And yeah, it looks like it's a retreat coming up from both teams here, as they are going to go ahead and of course, focus on getting to the late game. The late game is where you want to be if you want to pick up a lot of that KP. Now, that early game KP seems nice, but again, you're really risking it, especially up against one of the more consistent teams in this tournament so far.
Exactly. And we've also looked at, what have you done lately in Expensive Agents, trying to make, I think, more of a statement here and do not want to risk it all this early for what doesn't seem like too much of a payoff. 1 point in last round, so looking to increase that by, I'm sure, tenfold at least here in the second as we head over to Mawson as well as Stomps and Season 1 Wingman. They're heading over across Epicenter towards Fragment City, and we're going to see Snipe Down in the kill feed grab a kill onto Rasuki as well. Snipe Down, really one of the players I noticed on the rotation with Rogue, having a great pickup, already instant chemistry with Huskers no longer being a part of that squad.
I mean, as soon as you see Snipe Down with the Havoc, you run. You just run away from that fight. You don't try to take it. Very fair, he doesn't lose that fight. And so Yeah, that's all that needs to be said about that.
That's it. That's really it. That's all you got to have going on. I believe you with that one, and we're going to keep it simple there. There's a big fight happening at Rocker Apex as well. Just going to pop that Phoenix's team. He's just going to back off and let his two teammates kind of body block for him as well. They've got the Watson pylon already ready to go. Wingman, level 2, extended mag. It's a good start with a Peacekeeper and a level 3 shotgun bolt. So they're off and ready to go, finding themselves close to that southern side in the dome. This should be a pretty easy rotation. And I think Jamerson will see teams start to move this way from now until the end of the game.
But that's going to be a full team wipe coming out as all the rotations to the south are being made. Now, we do have Complexity backing off as they do know that the third party's coming in. They've already got their KP. They don't need to stick around for too long. They need to regroup here and really ride this momentum into the late game. We saw the last tournament when they were playing with Mirko that they just weren't able to secure the same kind of footing. I think in game number 2, they had a great position. They just weren't able to really utilize it there. They got caught out. I believe it was by Rogue in the second game, and were taken out early on. They don't want history to repeat itself. They want to be one of those teams that are consistently getting into the top 5, like TSM, like Team Liquid. That's how you close out a 5-game set.
And Jamerson, you know, it's a great point that you bring up, not wanting to kind of fall into the false traps of your past, but how do you go about that, addressing that type of situation here in Game 2? He says keep doing things the same, but they know that this is where they slipped up. There's got to be some part of them knowing that, hey, I know we're saying do the same, but I feel like we somehow have been not handling Game 2s as well. Is it a little more patience? Is it just experience that eventually, with time, helps you to make those decisions correctly?
Yeah, this time around, the rotation gets slowed down just a little bit because of the fact that they had to take that fight right there at Fragment East. And so they can't do it exactly as they did in game number 1, even though we have very similar circles here. I think, though, that two smart players in Lou and in Monsoon making these big shot calls for the team, that they'll be able to adapt for this late game. Again, they are an edge team, right? They're not running that Pathfinder. They've got the Gibraltar instead. And so this is fine. This is an adaptable squad. This is an adaptable composition. Though, as we are on board with Fire's Bowser, this is a tough position for him to be in.
Yeah, this situation isn't very adaptable, I'll have to admit. He's not looking good. Both Aqualix, Tempest, and Mollis, they are out. And TSM sitting pretty over on the other side of Dome. And you'll see Turns finding Fat Ninja. But talking about Hal there, he had the Kraber last game. Went down, unfortunately. TSM not able to get the placements they wanted early. But in the contest, not too slow of a start for sure. Flatline, R99, pretty decently equipped. But really the Gold Shield is the difference. And oh my goodness gracious. We talk about the flatline being effective. It's got some of the highest damage per bullet in Apex Legends. You can see why just right there.
What's interesting is that this was the exact same position that TSM held in game number 1. They're going to continue to maintain this. And the thing I like about this position, instead of holding up inside of a building right now, they're taking control of a wide zone here, and especially in a zone where they're going to be able to control the rotations coming out from other teams, try their best to gatekeep, and of course, pick up that valuable needed early game KP from a safe distance. So I like this control, but I want to see if they make any adaptations. Last time, they were a little bit unfortunate in how the ring pulled, where Hal had to use his Q and his portal to get them safely in. But as soon as he came through, even though he was able to, I believe it was him who landed a great Kraber shot onto, might have been one of the Rogue players, he just wasn't able to finish it out because, well, you were left out in the middle of the open there on that rotation because they were stuck on the wrong side of the dome.
Oh, and you see it. That's what he was going for. You might be wondering, why is he spraying with an R99 that far? He can't hope to kill anybody. It's not even good value for the poke. He wanted that 9 extra damage for the Evo Shield, Jamerson, which brings up a great topic of conversation right now. The buffed Evo Shields, the changes that they've had, the value, even talking with Hodzik, of how important they are in the game for these players to level up, how much easier they are to level up. And that's why we're also seeing a couple of other weapons like the charge rifle have a strong resurgence. Giving you that guaranteed damage from range would have been a lot easier than that R9. But Albrelli somehow finds a way, as TSM does, to get that. So they're geared out. They're ready to go. And we're following along with the Liquid boys here as they are in Lava City trying to poke themselves.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you bring up, that honestly, the Evo shields play towards TSM's strength. They're okay with, of course, taking early whites and then moving on. If they can find the Evos, even better for them, because they do a great job of maintaining a position and poking safely from a distance, of course, deterring anyone from coming into their zone. And in that time, of course, they're getting a lot of poke damage off. It's a lot easier now to get that blue and even that purple Evo shield. I believe it's 225 damage. That's all you have to do. If they can get their hands onto something like a G7 Scout, we're seeing how easily that Prodigy Ace is here on Team Dream Team is close to getting that red Evo shield. Even though they had nerfed the headshot damage of the G7 Scout, the fact that the limb damage has been removed, you're consistently hitting 30s onto targets like the Wraiths, like the Watsons, and so you're going to be able to get that shot up and charged up really quickly.
It's a big deal, and these teams know it as well. 21 seconds before the circle starts to move. You can see with the Pathfinder on your upper left mini-map where this circle is going to move next. And all teams who have a Pathfinder are playing off of that information and then the intimations of what that will provide as to where the circle will continue to go. So that's why we're seeing so many teams here currently towards the southern side. And it's you snooze, you lose kind of games where if you are a little bit late, you're going to fight through a lot of teams converging in a lot of similar pathways to try to get to safety or where the zone will be for that advantageous final circle. Bonlol, Swoop, Sokol, just content to poke with the wingman. A lot of R9s. Haven't seen many snipers in this lobby either, Jamerson.
Yeah, a lot of the times with the snipers, it's something that you just find in whatever building that you end up pulling up at, right? If you don't have a G7 Scout, then if you end up in one of these buildings and it has a charge rifle, you'll go ahead and use it, use up the ammo. Remember, the sniper ammo did get nerfed where it's down to 16 per stack now, so you can't get the same kind of poke value off of it anymore. But hey, if it's in your building, go ahead and use it, get some free damage off if you can. Try and trade for economy at this point. Now, we are on board with 6 turns and knocked, and I like this team. This is a team that does have some former chemistry. We get to talk about, of course, at the preseason invitational, 6 turns, and our newest desk mate and Hotzik played together on the Pittsburgh Knights there during that, and they had a great run themselves.
What a squad. What a dream squad right there. And now they're all doing good things. Hotzik here on the desk, continuing his career in such a great fashion. Love having him on these broadcasts, giving us that pro analysis as well. Bow Down, the team name that we're watching, has 3 points to their name, and Game 2 hopefully will even add to that score. But still 18 squads left. No placement points yet for anybody in the lobby, as we still have 51 players, and that doesn't start to change until you get to 15. And so it is still teams fighting for their success. We've got Mercy, Gizmac, Kakawin all over here. And I think this Havoc is actually starting to show up more so than a lot of weapons like an R301, which you may be used to seeing in your casual games of Apex Legends. This Havoc is really starting to take hold of this lobby right now.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to see an R301, it's going to be basically in the hands of, I believe, Rogue from Dream Team. That's kind of like his setup, the R301 with the EVA 8s. That's kind of become the new meme, right? That's Rogue's setup. And I still like the R301, but you cannot beat the DPS coming out from the R99. Sure, you do have the trade-off. The R99 only has, of course, that 1.5 times headshot multiplier, and the R301 has a 2 times headshot multiplier as it's an AR, but the rate of fire on the R99 is absolutely absurd.
It's nuts. And the only thing in your games where most people are thinking is, can you hit your shots? If you can, the R99 will give you higher DPS. And these pros at this level, their control, their recoil ability, I mean, it's just so fantastic to see what they can do with those weapons, even from distance, make it look like an absolute laser anywhere they're playing. Still following along with Mercy, Gizmac, and Kak here, as these guys actually placed, I believe, with 5 points and 6th in the last round. So they are a team to watch. Scouts, Havocs, 2 Havocs to the name, 2 Scouts to the game as well. So this team is ready to go as far as poke damage.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that they're still holding in this position right now. They've got 17 seconds, even though they are on the slow side of the circle, slow side of the zone. They've got a team to their back. They're not clearing them out yet. They still have a team in front of them. There's a huge risk of getting pinched off here, and or pincered, and they need to deal with those threats because the zone's about to close.
Yeah, and you can see it here. 17 squads left. Zone close to moving in. We've got a Sentinel on the right side of Liquid Nocturnal, and this is a strong spot to hit. Those heavy shots from the snipers we mentioned were a bit bereft in this lobby, but now we're starting to see a little bit more of the impact. And of course, the digital threat scope is going to be helpful with picking out people. And as you can see, all those teams just generating themselves. And this is where the bet kind of begins, right? Is it more towards the southern side of Lava City? Is it more towards the southeast, the southwest, even higher up? And this is where they're going to have to start making some dangerous moves once they get that information.
Yeah, this may be where TSM's position was actually the smart one here, holding outside the dome on the outer shell here. As we're seeing a whole lot of kills coming in. It's going to be RKN and Johnny picking up 2 for themselves. They were traded away, though. So we'll see. They do finish off their fight right now. We're still on board with Gizmak, Mercy, and CAC, though. They were able to safely make that rotation. I was a bit worried about their position as they weren't able to do anything about the team behind them. But it looks like the team that was behind them did rotate over maybe to the right-hand side here. They do have a fight going on underneath them, though. I want to see if they get involved in this.
And that is what we've seen. So many layers to these fights, literally up inside and then below these buildings. And the commitment, it seems, can be often precarious because you don't want to drop and give up that high ground. But even if you do drop, you have to understand that these teams are waiting for it. And that pressure, that split second, may be enough for them to get the upper edge advantage as far as damage, and so you are on the back foot. Flatline spray from Clarify and Solafide, they're just going to have to try to armor swap quickly so they don't die to any unsuspected stuff. He'll switch back and, of course, get that med kit off, but close one there. Definitely taking a little bit of damage as much as they're giving it.
That's a huge one, taking out of 2/3 of Liquid. And I believe it's just Flanker alive on his own. Solafide really going for that power position, taking over that building. They were sharing it with Liquid before this rotation, and now it's going to be a much easier rotation for them. They dealt with the threat that was going to be immediate on the rotate, and now they have to find a way to get over to that building for the next circle. But getting rid of that one extra threat is going to make it that much easier for them. We're back on board with RKN, Petty Boss, and Johnny. They were able to clean up their fight, get their res, and get back into this, and I like this position for them. They're going to be able to hug this shell if they want to. TSM are going to be on the western edge of that.
Still a little bit of time here, and everyone understands that. It is a game of patience after all. It's a marathon, not a sprint here in this tournament. Rain Day Jamerson on the cast in game number 2 for the ALGS in North America. Petty Boss and the ALGS Points Farmers content to sit down. A great collection of individual players who have done a lot in the scene, and from content to professional play to lands, they've all been all over the place. And
yeah,
right
Petty
now,
Boss himself. Petty Boss himself, he's been in every single online finals. And he is aptly named the ALGS Point Farmers. He has gotten so many of them. Right now, they are going to get that Gibraltar ultimate coming out now, as they're trying to clear out their back, but on board with Wildebeest now. He's got himself that red Evo shield.
And that is so good. 2 red Evo shields to the name, but it's not going to stop with a charge rifle hitting a little bit of damage. He's going to back off as well and just try to hide while his huge frame as the Gibraltar takes up almost too much space, but he feels confident he has time now with On the Hunt, the rest of them on the defensive, to get that Phoenix kit off. So 2 Evo shields was enough, and he actually lived by about 25 health, so really showing the impact of what that extra bit of damage can do to not only keep you alive, but maybe throw off how much somebody thinks they have to put out to kill you, especially with Gibraltar having that 15% damage reduction as a passer.
Solafide now making the push on to Team Skirt, was able to just bully them out this time around on board. Donald Trump, as they are trying to make sure they secure this rooftop, but he gets knocked.
Oh man, and that's big damage as well. Z Davis obviously just trying to find the best way in and out. Both of his teammates gone, and he looks like he may follow suit. He gets a little bit of damage and some help, but it goes down to the staircase, and the fight doesn't end in his favor. It's Bronzy and the boys Smile from Smile to help clean that one up. So 9 squads left. Things starting to get a little more intense here as the flatline. Oh, and the Anvil receiver comes out from Wildebeest. I like it.
On the hunt with a very strong position. They've got the wall to their back, and so all they have to do is watch north and honestly just farm up the KP. This is their game to win, I believe. They've got 2 red Evo shields right now. They've got positional advantage up against every other team. They need to just rack up all these kill points as they can.
And look at this. Liquid Fanker goes down to Solafide, And Clarify and the rest of the boys looking to find some answers. They're going to send in with the EVA 8. We've seen this gun so much more today, Jamerson, than we have in previous ALGS. And Pride still missing so many shots, but I think they're going to get the down. And Yui Mintel, he's going to find 4 kills with that one, pop the bubble, and then he's going to pop the shield. And so they're going to be back to full with a Gibraltar bombardment, defensively helping to give them some space.
Yeah, they're going to be able to hold this position now, but it's Rogue here on the outer edge on the northwest side, spotting out one. Got a good PK hit, but that one's only 11 this time around. He does have the backup, though. They're getting low, but it looks like they might have it here.
He swapped. He got it. Oh, my God. Dropped with the swap, and they are just precariously trying to stay alive. He knows one tick of that Gibraltar defensive bombardment will kill him, and it drops him, but he must have a res shield here. It looks like actually it's sniped down with the res shield, so he's going to try to get alive. That may be dangerous because that may come back to haunt that team.
Yeah, Snipedown was able to get that self-res, and they're going to be able to get everyone back up. Another self-res being used also by Sweets. Now Rogue in the top 3. Solafide still alive and on the hunt in that same position on the other side of the wall. Again, they have the ring pulling toward them.
And Jamerson, I don't think that they may be understanding just how much of Rogue is still alive. That self-res from Snipedown could prove to be the difference. We've seen On the Hunt be successful thus far, and already a couple of shots there from what looks like to be Rogue and Solafide battling each other out. The Watson fences go up. They still don't have to get aggressive. 26 seconds before the ultimate engagement happens, but it seems like Snipedown and Rogue are going to try to find at least the best position they can as of now.
Yeah, On the Hunt can just wait this out, let the two teams fight it out. Again, it's the first team, honestly, in these 3-way standoffs, the first team to make a move that usually make the mistake and end up trading and allow that third team to come in and mop it up. And so we'll see how patient On the Hunt will be.
And you have the G7 Scout with a golden barrel. Will it matter? Can he hit his shots? Headshots will be preferable here because all the damage as fast as you can get it is going to make the difference. There's 2 big Evo shields on both sides of these two teams with decent positions. You've got Solafide on the backside. You've got On the Hunt holding it down from behind the corner, and Rogue trying to make their way in. And it seems like they will be content to hold it here. At least no downs yet. All 3 teams still remaining.
On the Hunt still getting a little bit antsy, though. I don't want them peeking out now from behind this cover. They know that they do have a team on the rocks to their right, another team on the other side of the wall here, but this is where things have been turned on its table. Now they don't have the priority on the zone. It's actually going to be Solafide that's playing underneath that ledge that are much closer to the ring here, and they're going to have 2 teams in, I believe, On the Hunt and Rogue that are going to just funnel in from the western edge.
And there's so much damage potential here, Jamerson. And you can see it. All these teams know that it's just really who can hit your shots right now. There's a Mastiff in play. There's Evo Shields in play. You're going to have to burn through a lot very quickly. We've still got Solafide, Pride with their Wraith Portal as well. 1 minute and 5 for these teams to figure it out. It's a legendary standoff here near the outside of Dome. 3 great teams in contention to potentially take first place after this.
Again, very bold move coming out from Impulsive Dream.
Oh, they're going.
And Solafide is trying to take advantage of it. Did a lot of damage. It's going to force him back, but they have plenty of time to reset here.
That looked like a very risky play, and it started to get people moving as well. I think they're just trying to test each other. It is a bit of a standoff in Rogue. They say, okay, come over here. Let's see who can stand longer. They get 2 downs there. Snipe down falls thanks to Mental, and everyone on Solafide looking to clutch this one up. And On the Hunt is certainly now being hunted. Solafide Pride, he's just going to back off and pop his void so that he can stay safe in the midst of all this chaos.
Again, it's about that first team that makes a move, and it was On the Hunt that got a little bit antsy there. They peeked on over. Solafide exactly understood what their win condition was, and it's taken advantage of the first team that makes a move there, and that's exactly what happened. They're going to be able to take that win.
Solafide, what an incredible performance. The way they were able to maneuver that into that low ground and obviously help to take advantage of the aggression we saw from On the Hunt. And some of the pokes that we were noticing didn't end up working in their favor. I think they felt that there were 2 teams that could clearly kind of look at them, or they were going to be maybe pushed out of the area of safety. Rogue on the other side of the wall, maybe knowing that Solafide was always ready to poke and prod, and they couldn't really expose themselves to get to that angle to prod back. But overall, it was a great bit of patience, I think, from Solafide to handle game 2 and ultimately take the win in a pretty tough scenario with 3 fully kitted teams.
Yeah, things almost went bad for Solifide there on that first rotation when it was between those three teams. As you saw that Gibraltar bubble coming out a little bit early, and it was just a little bit short. Luckily enough, they had that ledge that they were able to play behind, play out time, recover, and then they understood that they had the win condition, that they had the winning position there.
And I think that's the big thing that we've seen. And so, for I think you and me watching this, these teams are getting to these circles so often. These moments are happening more often that the experience and the mind games are becoming more of a process of who wins or not than the actual execution of a lot of these fights. Hey, are you going? I'm going. Oh, I thought he's pulling the trigger. He's not. Now we're caught in limbo. And this other team has been waiting in the rafter. Says, great. Now it's our time to go. We always love to say it. Third parties are the best parties in Apex Legends. I think Solifide and the rest prove that. But I want to talk a little bit about where they were also. Only 1 point in Game 1, Jamerson, to bounce back with a performance like that in Game 2. How are you feeling about them heading into Game 3 and the rest of the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, there still seems to be like a weird curse, right? If you perform really well in finals, come around into the next tournament, you seem to be absent for whatever reason. It happens both in NA and EU, and that's what happened from Solifide from Online Tournament 2, where they just blew everyone out of the water and really made a splash for themselves. But comes Tournament 3, we did not see them this time around, though. They are coming in strong once again, and I like seeing this performance out of them. They really did make sure that they had their bases covered. They understood their win condition. They are playing good, solid, fundamental Apex Legends right now.
And when you look at teams like Rogue, and obviously the adjustment with Huskers moving on to content creation and trying his hand at creating his identity over in that way, Rogue lost a very key member of that squad. But Snipedown, who's been kind of free agenting, whether it's himself or whether it's bringing two people along with him, with its BCJ or its G-Dolphin, has now found his way onto this team, and they are performing so well. 20 points already in Game 1, and I would imagine close to potentially 20 points here in Game 2 with a decent kill game and obviously a great placement, and I believe second place. Talk to me about Rogue.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, especially when you do kind of lose that chemistry. You know, they've been playing together in Apex Legends for over a year now. They kind of transitioned together from other games where I believe it was Blackout before this, when a lot of people were positioning for that. And then Apex Legends came out, and it was the perfect game for them to transition over to. But again, whenever we talk about Snipedown, we do have to mention, of course, that he does have a wealth of experience behind him, and he has been able to hop from team to team and have success with any roster that really he swaps into. He just slots into these roles really well. And so I like seeing that coming out from them. And I think he just adds more veteranship to that team that has already a lot of chemistry and, of course, history behind themselves.
Love what I'm seeing with all these teams. Solifide on the hunt, Rogue. There's a lot of storylines developing, but to break those down and get you into some analysis and some more action for Game 3, send it back to our analyst desk. It's Fallout and Hotzik.
Rain Day, Jamerson, thank you so much for a great cast. Fallout here, joined back alongside Hodzik to talk about game number 2 and how things wrapped up. In the end, first place finish for Solifide, another team that we didn't necessarily include in our teams to watch, but you couldn't ignore after securing a second place finish in online tournament number 2. They cemented themselves as a top team to watch. Metro Prime and Co. with their new third show up very, very strong in game number 2. Rogue in third place in the hunt in second place. Hodzik, this Solifide squad is the real deal. I know you've had a chance to do a VOD breakdown of this team. What makes this roster work so well?
Experience is probably like one of the big ones. All three players have been in it from the start. They've been scrimming in the start in the background with Clarify, especially joining them. He's actually somebody I teamed with for one, I think the Texas qualifier. I wanted to team with him, but then, we went our separate ways. But he's a nuts player. Absolutely brings a lot to the table. Very solid Watson player. But they've been together for a long time. They have Metro and Primal, that is. They have a lot of chemistry together, a lot of experience in Apex. They know how to read these circles, and they know how to rotate, and they are all definitely mechanically apt enough to be able to take these fights.
Yeah, and one interesting kind of fun fact about the final 3 teams right there as we're gearing up for this final moment. All 3 teams feature one player who plays on controller. I know it's Metro for Solifide, Snipedown for Rogue, and Impulsive Dream for the In the Hunt squad. Let's go ahead and take a look at the final moments here. Interesting things to break down. It was kind of a standoff between these 3 teams until someone finally broke ice. It was originally In the Hunt getting some shots on Rogue, and then Solifide returning some shots. It's almost like a game of rock, paper, scissors, tit for tat in shots here. every team had a chance to reset, gain their health back, and ultimately Solafide was the one that kind of pushed up, recognizing, hey, we have a bubble, and obviously in the hunt also had a bubble. Solafide kind of baited that fight a little bit, Hodzic. You broke that down perfectly and forced Rogue to push up and forced the fight in the 3 versus 3. Solafide from that point on was able to just kind of third party, stay alive from afar, get some poke in, and secure a fight. Do you think that was intentional from Solafide to kind of drop that bubble and at least bait or make Rogue think that the fight was starting?
Yeah, so actually upon like second review of that, basically BR 101 is 3 squads left. Nobody wants to start a fight because the first 2 teams to fight are the ones that are going to lose. And Mental's team dropped their bubble first, and typically when a Gibraltar team drops their bubble first, especially versus any other Gibraltar team, they will on paper lose that fight. When you have Gibraltar versus Gibraltar, you always want to be the second one to drop your bubble down second. And basically, after about halfway through the duration of that first bubble of Mental's team's bubble, you saw Solafide drop their bubble very aggressively to get to kind of abuse that and take advantage of the fact that they won't have that bubble left anymore. And because of that, I think Rogue tried to swoop in on them and also clean them up, basically effectively baiting out a fight and then allowing Solafide to just chill in their bubble and then just come in with a third party and clean up very easily. Very, very smart, very well played.
Yeah, BR 101 and the fundamentals proved true right there as Rogue in the hunt took the fight. Solafide had really an easy cleanup after that to secure a first game finish. But it wasn't just that late game that put them in a good spot. They performed incredibly well throughout the entirety of that game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Game 2 results to see where everyone's standing as a result of Game 2, where the kills stand as well. In this one is Solafide with a 14-kill game. So yes, they may have had a little cleanup crew action to win it, but a massive performance. Right behind them was On the Hunt with 11 kills. So again, North America proves why they are the most aggressive region in competitive Apex with another 25 kill game between the top 2 teams, Rogue and Snipe Down, of course, adding a lot of aggression to that team with 8 kills right behind them. So much early aggression from these teams, Odzik.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big one to note, I mean, Complexity dropping 7 points is definitely good. Like, you want to keep getting more points, but that's definitely one thing that you just notice, especially in NA, a little bit more than EU, is just, like one team will drop a big kill game and then usually they just struggle with that consistency to keep moving it forward. So Complexity, it's astounding to me that Complexity is in 5th in terms of the game results and they only got 7 points. On EU, that would have been like 10th in terms of like the point gain there. So that's crazy. I mean, that just goes to show you how frag heavy NA is, and when one team starts with the momentum, they really take it home with that.
Yeah, it's a great stat line. Let's take a look at the action of Game 2 and see some highlights to see exactly how the action broke down. We've talked a lot about the NA aggression. We talked a lot about the early kills, and you saw it here throughout. Again, 18 squads remaining as round 2 was just closing. You didn't see a lot of that on the EU side, so that continues to be a theme here. As we are currently on board with Turns and Co., your former teammates in 6th, and Pittsburgh Knights. Meanwhile, a big performance from On the Hunt. On the Hunt right now, easy third party for them. They got some shots in across map. Mental was able to pick up one. Wildebeest as well as some good cross-range support as Gibraltar. Recognizing he was low in HP, just surviving right there was the right play. 8 squads remain. Sticking on board with On the Hunt here. They saw another opportunity to play aggressive. Now you're starting to understand why those kills started to rack up. Mental taking the kill leader spot. One of the best esports players and one of the most winningest esports players on the console side of things. So Mental, for those that don't know, is a professional Gears of War player on the best team, arguably, in Gears of War right now. He's won 22 championships in Gears of War. He's playing Apex on the side, just in addition to being a professional Gears of War player. Crazy performance from On the Hunt. But ultimately, in the end, it was Solafide who came out on top. However, it was Rogue who was able, with 2 solid and consistent performances, to leapfrog Complexity and secure themselves a first place finish with 35 points. Complexity right behind them with 31. Solafide with 27. On the Hunt right behind with 23. Then 21, then 20. And then a massive drop all the way to TSM in 7th place with 10. Look how top heavy that is, Hodzic.
Yeah, I mean, and I was actually telling this to a couple of my friends, like right before we got into this cast, or before they went out to play. I was telling them this is probably going to be extremely top heavy, which is very interesting if you look at last week's roster, or last week's top 20. Last week's top 20, and I spoke to a lot of the NA pros that played at that time last week, or sorry, 2 weeks ago. A lot of them talked about how that was probably the hardest bracket finals of like 20 teams that they played since Poland. And it was a very tough one, and the stat line did not look like it does now. Extremely top heavy. it's basically coming down to who's going to put out the best, highest kill game win is probably going to take this. So interesting to see. Very, very different from the EU side of things, for sure.
Yeah, and different from a lot of the online tournaments we've seen. In the past, we've seen consistency stay true. Team Liquid with some consistent performances all 5 games, they got a win. TSM with consistent performances, they got 3 wins. TSM currently with only 10 points in 7th or 8th place. Team Liquid with, I think, 6 or 7 points in 10th place, quite significantly behind. So they're going to need to be similar to these teams that are fragging out to kind of keep up with this top-heavy type of lobby here. So we're only in game 2, but quite a significant difference between some of our top teams and our mid-tier or bottom tier teams, and it's hard to believe that TSM and Team Liquid is included in that. Anything that you're seeing in particular, Hodzik, from just a quick thought before we wrap up and get ready for game 3, anything you're seeing in particular from TSM and Team Liquid that's not working out so well for them?
Seems like it's hard to tell, obviously, because we don't have like their individual perspective throughout the entire game, so we miss a lot of the story. But it definitely seems like, at least from the Team Liquid side, they seem to be struggling a little bit with the rotations. Like they grabbed a very outward spot there in that last one, obviously getting picked in the first one. Wasn't able to see too much of what happened to TSM. They seemed like they got there quickly, but I wasn't quite able to see what happened to them, unfortunately. But
you're spot on.
It's just one small mistake can ruin it for you.
And they're getting picked early, 2 games in a row now they've gotten picked. We'll see if Team Liquid can step it up in game number 3, as it looks like game number 3 is loaded up and ready to bring the action. We have Onset and Bravo throwing it over to you.
Thanks so much, Fallout and Hodzik. Onset, happy to be back in the booth with you for game number 3. And as we like to see in North America, things are certainly getting interesting. It's going to be once again a story not only of the past few weeks of the ALGS, but also even the story of the semifinals. Let's keep in mind how TSM got here. Huge games 3 and 4 for them in the semis. Question is, from 7th place with only 10 points, 25 points behind, can they do it again?
Yeah, 25 points is a huge margin, but if there's anyone that can do it, that's done it in the past, not only just once, but twice, 3 times, however many times you want to do it, TSM play their best when their backs are against the wall. And that's where they are right now, okay? Their backs are very much against the wall, but for all of the talk about TSM, let's talk about complexity. Let's talk about the teams that are at the top of the table, the likes of Rogue, etc. I thought that the gap was narrowing in North America. I thought that teams were going to really start to contest those top spots. We weren't going to see TSM running away with every single tournament. We're going to see constant improvement from teams in that bubble. And now we are seeing that. And although it's only 2 games, we have to remember, marathon, not a sprint. It's a great start for them. Now they need to capitalize on that start and really put the hammer home here.
Let's go ahead and listen in now with Rogue off the drop.
Dude, the Dorito building. Dude, it's just ridiculous.
Gold armor?
Blue light mag R9. Jesus Christ. Okay, we want to get into... We need to early rotate to get into Overlook. We just need to keep... We're getting kills regardless. We just need to get a good spot in this zone. Not early rotate, but we already have really good armors. Let's just see what
R9 here for you?
Yep.
I took all the ammo though, so... There's a...
And I tell you what, I hope you're ready for a dance party here, regardless of what time it is in the world. It was time for a Mirage Voyage dance party there for the guys on Rogue. And you hear them looting together. Something, of course, you always want to hear is kind of everyone calling out exactly what they're finding, exactly what they're going to roll with, just in case they do need to stack and move quickly. Excited to see what Rogue can do here. Once again, Snipedown, if you saw it on social, of course, Snipedown, not necessarily a permanent fixture of the Rogue side just yet, but announcing that he will be playing with them, of course, in this tournament under the Rogue banner. So you have to wonder, certainly a chance that could be a permanent fixture, and a good chance that this tournament might dictate if that's going to be the case or not.
If this is an audition, Snipedown's doing pretty well in these first 2 games, is the way that I'm going to put it. He's dancing on Mirage Voyage, but he's dancing in game as well. And I think this team has already shown, there's a natural chemistry there, and there's certainly a lot to look forward to from this Rogue lineup. And they need to capitalize on it, though. That's the thing with a lot of teams. They can't give the likes of TSM the opportunity to get back into these games because they will take that advantage. We have the opportunity to look at the map overhead, and you can see it's a big, strong pull towards Overlook. So teams like TSM and Fragment East and Overlook are going to have a fantastic early rotate to where this end circle may be moving. So this is an opportunity for TSM maybe to just start that comeback, light that fire a little bit under them.
Yep, we're looking at Second Nature here. They're making their way into Overlook as well, and we're going to see if they run into anyone because teams, of course, are already positioned up here. They're going to be able to claim a building for themselves. But as we've seen time and time again, even though this is not a 100% guaranteed Overlook finish, you're going to see teams holding up, right? It's much better to play these back corners of Overlook, get these Overlook interiors, and then have to get out than having to rotate into Overlook, which is almost going to be an impossible task anywhere near the late game. Even if this pulls a bit west towards the Cap City eastern outskirts, or if it pulls a bit more towards the epicenter eastern hills, it's being in Overlook is going to put you in a pretty good position. Now here's TSM Hal now throwing down the TP, trying to get in, actually maybe going for that same exact building, and now maybe going to be able to get that low ground now as well. He's going to check up top. He's going to be getting dinged from all over, but actually finds this building surprisingly empty. So Second Nature already vacating that building.
Yeah, let's take a second to just break down what we saw. That is the quintessential play that you want your Wraith to be making. If you're in a position where you can get to where you believe the end circle is going to end early, your Wraith has to be able to scout out those buildings. He has to be able to use the portal to get into those buildings and navigate the entire team with less mobility into a safe position. So that was a fantastic opportunity to see essentially that entire play made by Hal, which might look very simple and very obvious, but there's nuances to it. And making those plays is what makes a good Wraith player and a consistent Wraith player.
Absolutely. Imperial Hound, not only one of the best Wraiths in the world, one of the best players in the world as well. As we take a look here, we got Shiny PC, Gorilla, and Yuban all on white armor here. They've opted, obviously, for positioning up on these silos here at Overlook, and they're going to need to play this carefully, of course. They're going to be looking for picks, for third-party opportunities that are going to allow them to upgrade their loot, but for now, they will continue playing the position here. As a reminder, just in case you're just joining us here in game number 3, our top 3 right now, Rogue with 35, Complexity with 31, and Solafide with 27. But as you heard talked about before this game, still so much up for grabs here in these last 3 games of the evening. Truly, anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen, and game number 3 is where we see the shape of the table and the leaderboard really start to evolve. That's where we see who is going to be, truly and really in contention to potentially win a tournament or placing those top couple of places. But this is a difficult rotation for Rogue. They've had fantastic finishes in those first 2 games that we've mentioned, but Mirage Voyage, they've got to go all the way from the very western side of the map all the way across to the eastern side of the map. So they need to be very selective on where they choose to rotate through the map to avoid as many battles as possible.
By the way, that was Wildebeest of On the Hunt getting absolutely bullied here by the guys on XE United. Fishers, Rockerteen, and Crust just absolutely raining down shots on the hopeless ballooning of Wildebeest. He gets taken down despite his best attempts to zig and zag. Now also taking a look at Bond, Swoot, as well as Soko. They're going to be making their push a little bit further out of zone towards Refinery just to see what's happening on the trailers that are just towards that southeastern side. Maybe trying to pick up a little bit of extra KP if they can as well.
Yeah, KP, and it looks like they're going to use the redeploy as well to maybe not only scout out where opponents are, which is such a vital part of using this balloon as well. It's not about just traversing the map. It's about finding out from that elevated position where some potential free spots are. And you can see it looks like they're going to opt to try and get on the high ground just to the north of the refinery area, which means that, they're going to have a pretty good spot here. They're going to have good coverage, and also being within the circle, they can wait for that next pull to make their next move.
Absolutely. Now they're going to try to slowly make their way into Overlook. They know that all of these buildings will be taken, but they're going to look for their opportunities to poke, maybe push, and certainly if they're able to find a team that's trying to make their way and take advantage of that and use that as their way into Overlook. One thing I do want to point out on set, we're actually seeing in back of Overlook, if we talked about the easternmost side, it's essentially only a team on the silos, and we just got a glimpse of it just now. Only a team on the silos in the bottom corner, and only a team on the building. For example, no teams are in the easternmost dome building just yet, so that back corner of Overlook is not jam-packed. It's actually the middle section, the westernmost, the open areas that have the most teams in there in Overlook. So what I'm getting at is those teams that do have that comfortable position in the deep pocket, they're not going to have a lot of contention. Their backs are essentially secure. They're only going to be facing to the west.
Their backs are secured and they're pretty comfortable at the moment, but I think the reason that maybe a lot of teams haven't made a decisive decision on where they want to move is they're a little bit unsure on where this end circle is going to pull, or where this next circle is going to pull. If you make the play to get yourself in that back corner, the only issue with that is you're trapped in the back of a refinery. You have to fight through essentially the entire lobby with 20 squads still left alive if it doesn't go your way. So I feel like a lot of teams at the moment are kind of setting up to hedge their bets a little bit on where that ring is going to pull and give themselves the shortest distance to cover once it does so.
Absolutely. You have to think of the teams that are actually towards that westernmost side. They're going to have the easier routes out if and when that end circle does actually pull to the west, closer to epicenter, closer to fragment. They're not only going to have the easier route, but they're also going to be seeing teams flying from the east past them for some opportunity for KP and third partying as well.
Yeah, we're going to see a few shots being exchanged there, and it isn't a full squad wipe quite yet, but we are seeing kills, and just as I say that, there is a full squad wipe going down. It's going to be Rocker who takes down THC, I believe, and Crust obviously helping out his fellow teammate there to take him down. 19 squads now remaining, so on the second circle, with about 2 minutes left or so, that's the first eliminations we're going to see. Pretty stacked lobby so far as teams still left to contest where this next rotation will be going.
Absolutely. Happy Campers, that's a tough turn of events for them. Keep in mind, Happy Campers actually qualifying just behind TSM in their semifinal. Now, quite a few points behind just because of the huge delta of TSM's points in that semifinal. However, still, coming in second in their semifinal, they had big expectations today, but they will exit early.
So now we're seeing the point of view of SF, and they had a great game in the last game. Solafide, they really would be absolutely over the moon with that placement, but now they're just trying to posture and try and basically find their way into any kind of position within this circle. I'm not sure what they're actually within it at the moment. It looks like the portal was put down to try and take that truck, but unfortunately the portal, once it dropped, just dropped into an absolute bombardment of Watson fences, and that just means the portal's bad, boys. I'm sorry, we're going to have to wait and find another way around.
Absolutely, of course, and it's on that Wraith to immediately make that call, and sometimes the portal looks safe, and moments later it isn't safe, so certainly a lot of pressure on your Wraith, typically, of course, also very often in that IGL role as well, having to decide whether or not the team is going. But speaking of teams going, everyone's still slowly trying to get any damage that they can. Still going to be about 55 seconds before we see any big movements of teams getting further and further into this Overlook area. Also keeping an eye out to see if we do see that next beacon as well.
Yeah, I just want to go back to that Wraith portal as well, when you kind of touched upon it and how a portal can be bad without you really realizing it until you get to your final destination. It's another advantage if we go back and compare when we saw the Wraith play from How early on, pretty much uncontested. That's why early rotations are so prioritized in Apex as well. If you can get to a spot early, the likelihood of you coming under fire while putting that portal down, while finding an area to get to, are so much lower than when you're rotating late or you have to rotate a long way across the map. That's why we see some of the best teams in the world focusing on those central drops off of their drops so that they don't have to travel as much distance over an entire series as teams who have to, for example, land on the outside of the map and possibly traverse the entire way across, a little bit like Rogue have to do in this game.
Absolutely. An understanding of that timing, of that urgency is really what separates some of the top teams and then the leadership alongside it. That's certainly one thing TSM does do very well and doesn't lack whatsoever is decisiveness. The second you hear Hal calling for a portal or a teammate suggesting a portal, if Hal agrees, you're going to see that portal go down immediately. The call will be made, and we see it time and time again for the best Wraiths in the game. As we take a look now, still 18 squads left, of course. If you're just joining us right now, taking a look at the leaderboard, one thing we haven't talked about enough on set, of course, is exactly where Liquid sits right now. Liquid in 10th place are winners of our last online tournament, the first team to upset TSM. They are in 10th with 6 points, and TSM in 7th with 10 points. So essentially the two most talked about teams, your NA 1 and 2, right now in the bottom half of that top 10. Do they have what it takes in these games 3, 4, and 5 to change that and shake things up?
Well, there's certain teams that have to put in big performances in big games, and the ones that win championships are usually the ones that can produce when the pressure is on. So all eyes will be on our previous winners of the online tournaments in Liquid and in TSM to see if they can come back. But at the moment, just looking at that map overhead for a moment, you can see still teams weren't particularly sure on if that was going to pull to the east, if it was going to pull north, if it was going to pull to the west. But now you can see it looks like it's pulling more towards Overlook and the interior of Overlook, meaning all the teams who were kind of maybe hedging a bet that it was going to do something a little bit funky and pull to the east, they're going to have to try and rotate in late now, and that's going to be difficult unless you maybe have that Gibraltar.
Yeah, anyone that's still out at Epicenter, we're actually getting good views here from the ops. We have teams that are still all the way at Fragment. We have Epicenter East and towards Refinery, and then also, of course, Overlook North. Teams are still going to need to make their way. And now they've got a little bit of time to do it, but that route is going to be very difficult, and they're going to have to time that absolutely perfect if they want to live past this next round. As we also see where Liquid is setting up, establishing a nice perimeter here, actually in Overlook South, and of course they're hoping for a pull that might go a little bit further south than the Overlook interior buildings.
Yeah, they're looking for the next rotation. I think a lot of teams at the moment are trying to wait for the last possible moment to rotate into this circle and take a team fight. The last thing you want to do is show too much presence as a late rotating team early that everyone's going to be looking out for free kill points and free shots onto those teams who don't have any real estate on the map, don't have anywhere to try and hold up and set up that Watson ult. So they've got to be careful now.
Rocker, Teen, and Crust, by the way, on your screen. Fisher's there in 5th place with 21 points, so certainly not just in the running to have a very good tournament, but one of the teams that can absolutely take this tournament with a solid final 3 games here. Excited to see exactly how this will play out. But now taking a look once again at Complexity, a team we've talked about at length, not just today, but throughout their competitive Apex career. They've shown up to these events for quite with quite a few rosters. However, now coming in with the addition of Lou, I think has excited a lot of people to see exactly what these 3 can do together. Does look like I've lost Onset for just a moment, so a way to get him reconnected here to the stream. Apologies, you'll have to listen to me a little bit more than normal. But Complexity, Lou, the newest addition here, just replacing Mirko, and a very different roster than the one that we saw. You know, if you take a look at something like Poland or GLL coming in with different rosters for each time. One of the things we talked about coming out of the last tournament is your quote-unquote mid-pack teams in North America. The Complexities, the Rogues, the Fnatic NAs, the NRGs, really starting to find a little bit of consistency in the last event. Actually, for the first time, I think ever, all 4 of those squads actually being in the top 10, which is rare to see all 4 of them together. Interestingly, the 2 that are here today are with new rosters from OT3, so now we'll see what they might be able to do as we'll let this action play out for just a moment. Oh, you sound great. It's great. It's great to have you back. I wanted to save the people from only having to listen to me, so it's great to have you here. It sounds like though I might be the only one hearing you, and the stream might not be, unfortunately. So we'll go back into the action with Complexity. And speaking of Lou, all pressure is on. It's just him and Monsoon that need to be careful here. It will be a quick bat for Monsoon as well. Now also looking at Petty Boss, RKN, and Johnny. Once again, that's going to be the ALGS Points farmers. They came in the 5th seed in their semifinal, looking to put some big points on the game here. Looks like I might have Jamerson joining me, though. Sounds like I don't have Jamerson with me. I have Jamerson in my ear, and let me tell you, folks at home, if you could hear Jamerson, you'd absolutely love what he's saying, but he is not joining us, unfortunately. Now you're here? Are you sure? And then let me tell you, I've never been trolled so much on a broadcast in my life. It is good to have you with me here, Jamerson. I think you're with me here now. And now it sounds like I might have Onset back with me. Onset, I'm crossing my fingers. Are you here with me, buddy?
Well, I just had to take a deep breath, Andy, because we know what's about to happen in this game. You can see the action starting to develop. I'm sorry, everyone, that I left you for just a few moments. It doesn't mean I love you any less, but Andy, fantastic job from you to take over while I was just having a little 2 seconds.
I don't know if I could say a fantastic job, as I was trolled repeatedly by multiple people in Discord, but it is great to have you back in the action as we lost, not only did we lose you, but we also lost a few squads, but we're also taking a look once again at Fishers here. Teen, Crust, and Rocker also trying to get some damage here onto the roof as well, as they're going to make this push together past the dome and get some early damage.
Yeah, the EVA shots aren't quite connecting at the moment, but the battle will go down, and they're just trying to basically force anyone off the top that they possibly can. The fight is continuing to go down, and it looks like a couple of players might drop, but the defensive bombardment is going to keep them safe for now. It looks like both teams might be backing off for just a second and not trying to get too aggressive in that particular instance.
Teen's actually going to queue out because he found himself in a 1v2 momentarily there and needs to make sure to stay alive. He's able to get away as we see CAC and Mercy only. There also might... The dome, of course, is going to help that revive, but they need to move quickly here as we do have 9 seconds on this close. So now back over to the Liquid side. You saw them in the south earlier. Now Casper needs to fly through because he's taken some heavy hits. Flanker as well. He and Nocturnal will also make it out, but Nocturnal also forced to queue as well.
Yeah, force the Q and Team Liquid, at least they found themselves a little dip in the land, the lay of the land here, so that they can survive and maybe just use it as a little head glitch to try and get those heals off and try and get back to a full complement of health. But you can see the difficulty of the route that they've got ahead of them. They've got Watson fences, they've got bullets flying at them as well, and their own gen is going to eat up some...
There absolutely is, and Liquid has done well with the real estate that they've had. Just simply the ability to sit back and play the little bit of lower ground and establish perimeter there as well. Just to play that, and once again, sometimes you do have to get creative. We hear Hodzic talk about it in some of his VOD reviews. You need to get creative with how and where you establish those perimeters. A lot of the Watson fences, the role of those is to establish an area, to lock it down, to make sure the team doesn't roll up on you accidentally, and other reasons that are actually less related to defensive gameplay as well. It sounds like I might have lost Ante for just a moment again. Hopefully we'll get him back in just a second. But also looking back at RKN, Johnny, and Petty Boss here, ALGS Points Farmers, one of the best names. And I think the only other name that I noticed that got knocked out earlier that's too bad is the Fire-Breathing Rubber Duckies. Huge shout out to that squad. I believe they exited in quarterfinal number 2, but probably the only second best to the ALGS Points Farmers in terms of names. But the Points Farmers themselves now in double purple as well as a gold as well. And it sounds like do have Jamerson here with me. Jamerson, please tell me you're there.
Hi. I hope you can hear me.
It is good. I can hear you, and we're going to go with it. I think I got you here, but take a look. Things getting interesting here in Overlook. Tell me, what are you seeing here in terms of, aside from the fact of every single building and rock being held in Overlook right now?
Yeah, this is still surprising. I would not have expected this many teams alive, this many players alive. Prodigy Ace is trying to have his last stand outside in the ring, will finally go down, but it's Solafide who has found their footing here in the circle right now. TSM, though, had a great building. They're going to be able to reset. It's going to be Imperial Hal pushing forward with a great burst.
Great break. They're also going to push in with that wing. He's going to get that knock on CAC. Now Hal is able to queue out. You also saw down bottom left, Reps also did get that bat off to get that Evo a little bit more. Took some later damage, but now Gumps in, and Reps not afraid to get into the fight. Hal's going to be forced to swap. Will swap to a purple as well. Jumping straight down, going to try to finish the Watt with the wing. It's another great break for him. 7 squads left, and Hal and Reps playing fierce.
Yeah, Albraleli will get knocked here, though, and it looks like their thirst is not going to be stopped as Albraleli gets finished off here in the middle of the zone, in the middle of the ring, so it doesn't look like they'll be able to recover him. There's not even a space to try and res him, so that doesn't matter. But TSM, we've seen them clutch out. These two players alone, Reps and Imperial Hal, have done it historically time and again.
Absolutely, they certainly can do it. They're sitting on decent armor as well. See, Reps able to get that Evo fully charged as well. But now take a look at the Liquid side. It's going to be Flanker on white, Nocturnal and Casper there on purple and blue. And now they have the height and starting to see a little bit of the same stories as last week come up now. Liquid starting to maybe pull away. But keep in mind, both of these teams are towards the bottom of our top 10. They're both looking for big performances here that can set them up for a solid game 4 and 5.
Yeah, surprisingly, I believe TSM had 10 points and Liquid had 6. And so this is the kind of momentum they want to carry into the second half of the tournament right now. Liquid, though, this is the position they want to be in. They know they have a general idea of where TSM is, and I want to see them try and focus them down now as the rotation comes out. It's going to be Shitty PC, Huge Gorilla playing in the house underneath them. Liquid, they've got this bird's eye view of every other team underneath them right now, but they're not able to secure any of these kill points right now, which is drastic, which is what they really need.
Absolutely, they need every point they can get here, not just those placing points, but like you said, the KP as well. They're still going to hold and try to get as many of these final kills as they can. Desperately wishing they might have a Thermite to hit that fence as well, but still PKs are going to be out. That Scout coming into way later game than you might expect for the Liquid side, but it's going to be a 301 in the hands of Flanker along with a PK as well. Multiple PKs for Liquid on the rooftop. Now Shiny PC, Gorilla, and Yuban also trying to make something happen here in this game. Now 4 squads left, 10 players total.
Yeah, so that's going to break it down to a 3-3-2-2 as TSM, of course, are down to 2 members right now. I don't know exactly who the 4th team is that are down to 2 players currently, but the most important part is that Liquid have this high ground position. They're a full squad, and they know how to close out these games when they do have the advantageous position. Though the troubling thing is, of course, with how top-heavy, with how much other teams have fragged out so far in game number 1 and game number 2, even getting a 12-point win here wouldn't be enough for them to really propel up right now. So they need to clean up the rest of this lobby.
Absolutely now, and you can bet that they're going to be trying to get those PKs set on the same targets as they'll be able to drop opponents real quick. By the way, got to give a shout out. This is Expensive Agents, who in their semifinal, just behind Happy Campers and TSM, placed third. So they're going to be looking to make that similar statement here in our game number 3 itself as well. Jamerson, it sounds like I might have Onset back for these final moments. Want to thank you for joining me momentarily. Onset, are you with me? And I don't hear you, so Jamerson, I hope you're still with me. It's fantastic. The trolling is getting too intense. You and I are closing it out. I'm making the call here. Casper now taking a look here. He's able to get a nice break there with that PK. Actually, Nocturnal forced to not only hit a bat, but also hit a few heals as well. And now, with 4 seconds, things are going to come down to the bottom. Hal gets some great shots there out of his PK as well. Needs to be careful around these doors. Has to shoot out a few fences before he pushes out as well. Reps with some good damage, but they haven't picked up just yet. Another kill comes in, and several kills coming in for TSM. It's absolute insanity. They're now moving in here. Hal grabs the kill leader position. They're jumping in. PKs are out. Liquid should be able to close this out on pure numbers. Let's see. Casper picks up one extra. I think that's going to be it. We are going to see a Liquid win in our game number 3, and they are back on top. A wild, wild game for everyone in that final lobby. A wild game for me. A wild game for you. Thankfully, the most of the chaos came in the mid game when I was trying to figure out who on earth I was casting with. But in the end, one thing we could be sure of is that was Liquid's game to lose, Jamerson, and they absolutely played that well. In the end, TSM, I think, got a few extra KP before exiting. However, if we look at just how big that performance was, we got to talk about Liquid. That could propel them quite a bit from 10th.
I think that was 4-3 and 2 that TSM ended that with in terms of kill points. And so even though Liquid ended up getting that first place position, I want to say they earned about the same amount of points throughout this round.
Okay.
And so Liquid just weren't able to close it out. TSM, they understood the position that they were in. They were already down to 2. They knew that Team Liquid was still alive, full as 3. And so TSM did everything they could to pick up every single KP they could throughout that lobby. And that is a huge difference maker, as we can see. Actually, looking at this breakdown, that is disgusting. 6 kills for Hal, 6 kills for Reps, and 3 for Albralele there. So they blew Team Liquid out of the water on this round.
You called it perfectly. We saw the end circle of Liquid playing that game very well in terms of getting that first place victory, but in terms of an entire game and in terms of the overall score, certainly I stand corrected, as TSM is going to be the team that comes out on top with their performance there. 15 kill points for them. It's TSM's biggest performance today. Keep in mind, they came into that game with just 10 points total, and they got 15 in kill points alone. That's a huge game for TSM, and they could be setting up to repeat again. Keep in mind, this is how they played their semifinal again. This is kind of the TSM up to their usual tricks in the 9th inning stretch. Can they do it again? That's the question. For now, we're going to go back to our analysts who are going to get us ready for game number 4.
Thank you, Bravo. Jamerson. Of course, I'll give some love to Onset as well. Fallout here joined back alongside Hodsik to break down game number 3 as we see order restored in many ways. Team Liquid first, TSM second in placement. But as our casters pointed out, a huge and crucial game of slaying out for TSM. Hodsik, as you were watching, what was working so well for TSM in those mid-game fights?
I mean, they were just, it seems like their house right towards the end, like the 4th circle there, the house that they had in Overlook was just being bombarded by people. And I saw a couple times as well, like they actually pushed out of the house to kill the people sieging their house as well, which is usually a pretty good strategy if you don't get shot in the back. But they were just fragging out on everybody around them, and they had some decent gear. Like I've mentioned in the past, they are a team that knows how to play with no gear, but when you give them a little bit of gear, they will frag out. So very well done.
We saw them armor swapping left, right, and center there as well. I mean, great plays come through from TSM. You know, Hodsik, you've competed against them, as we actually are also watching Team Liquid here in the final moments of this against TSM with ultimate high ground in a great position. You obviously know this Team Liquid squad incredibly well, as we're watching Team Liquid in high ground. Break down these final moments for me as we saw Team Liquid ultimately come out on top of first place finish over TSM.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, all they're looking for is any little bit of pick damage they can get. Being the team on the roof, they're going to be the last team that people look at. So they want to be the last team down on the ground and then just kind of basically clean up everybody here. Seems like everybody was a little bit afraid to get to the circle there because they were actually the first ones. It seems like everyone kind of like took their time getting there. Because in those late game circles, you want to be the last team in, because you want the other teams to do all the damage to them, and then you just come in, clean up, get some easy kills, and also hopefully a win. So it looks like all those other teams, I think they looks like they took a lot of ring damage stalling getting in, which ended up costing them absolutely.
Yeah, listen, you should write a book at this point for this BR 101 novel that you're currently writing. How to play a BR for dummies, written by Hodzik. Keep an eye out. By the way, you look like someone who would write a book right now, very wise in many, many ways. So kudos to you on the wardrobe. Good insight and analysis as always from my man Hodzik. Appreciate the breakdown there. And that's spot on. I think Team Liquid, tell of two tales in that scenario. Team Liquid prioritized positioning, and we'll talk about some of the rotations early on as they played a little bit interesting on their rotation, tried to predict a circle that ended up not coming to fruition at that elbow. But Team Liquid prioritized positioning, and it showed, and that's how they got a first place finish. TSM, kind of different than we're used to seeing out of TSM, prioritized slaying out. They recognize that we're way behind in the leaderboards right now. We need to go absolutely massive. Talking a bit about Team Liquid's rotations, what do we see from them early on their rotations until they finally got to that late game high ground?
I'm not sure how much we actually saw from them from the camera standpoint, but I did see around the fourth circle, there was a big shift in a lot of teams. If you were paying attention to the map in the early game, were rotating super fast because overlook circles are very obvious when they are displayed as the first zone. So every team knows that it is a pain to push into overlook if you don't already have a spot there. So every team definitely cut their losses on loot and try to rotate early. Didn't see exactly where Liquid was, but I did see that at one point, and this is actually such a big surprise, that little elbow south of Overlook was completely open in like the third or fourth circle. And it looked like the circle was pulling there, and I think Team Liquid kind of read the circle that way because there is an end zone in that elbow. So I believe they took that elbow for a bit, and I think they got a couple kill points kind of just shooting at people. I'm not sure how they rotated onto inside Overlook and onto the best spot in the zone.
For free, it looked like, too. They're the only ones up there. Yeah.
I think they took advantage of when I think the fourth circle closed. It was just a bloodbath around the TSM house. And I think they kind of used that as a distraction because sometimes it's not, you don't always want to go guns blazing. Sometimes it's best to use the distractions of the teams around you to get to the position that you want. And I think I'm assuming that's what happened with Team Liquid. And they got the best spot in the circle.
And that got them a first place finish. Yeah, you're right. I think they took advantage of TSM fighting. TSM, meanwhile, capitalized on the fights as well to pick up a 15 kill game coming through from TSM. Huge. We'll of course get the game results for you momentarily as we have a chance to. But as mentioned, tell of two tales. TSM slays out, recognizing they need to. Team Liquid plays for placement. I think they picked up 4 or 5 kills total, plus 12 points for first place. That's going to put them with at least like an 18, 19 point game, put them right back in the running. So we'll get those game results for you as soon as we can. But of course, a strong game from our top 2 Titans, and the key storyline that we heard coming into this one, Team Liquid first, TSM second in placement, but you got to think, as Jamerson pointed out, TSM actually got the first place finish in terms of overall point standings. Let's take a look at the highlights from the entirety of the game, though, as we saw some early game fights from Rogue, a strong rotation from Rogue. We saw a variety of things in game number 3, Hodzik.
Absolutely. There was a lot going on. A little bit in the early game, but you are noticing, look at how we saw that circle for a split second. A lot of teams were prioritizing rotations. There wasn't as much fighting going on as much as some of the other games, but there was this is where things started to get bloody a lot around this tunnel, and it's basically all the teams that weren't able to get a good rotation in. This is where they start to die. And it gets, like I said, it's very, very difficult to be on the outskirts of an overlook circle. It's almost impossible to push in if you're the last team in.
Especially coming from the south side of the map. You saw Rogue with a smart rotation. They actually went all the way north and pushed all the way around, recognizing that any team that was ready north in Refinery or elsewhere, Epicenter, already made a rotation likely because they know that early rotation is kind of quite predictable. So smart rotation from Rogue. They ended up getting, I think, like 6th, 7th place in a decent finish from them. But in the end, as we saw right here, Team Liquid played their positioning to their advantage, had ultimate high ground, and was, as Hodzik mentioned earlier, the last team to rotate into that circle, which made it quite the easy pickings for them as they got some early poke, they got some early damage, and they're able to come out on top in that 3 versus 2 against a damaged and weakened TSM. In the end, Team Liquid first. We know TSM got second in placement. Expensive Agents, a team we haven't heard or talked a whole lot about, gets 3rd place as they managed to secure themselves the top 3 finish. We'll see if that puts a dent in these standings at all. But a lot of the teams, Complexity on the hunt. Solafide, I believe, made it to like top 7, top 8. But a lot of these top teams that were high up in standings, the top heavy leaderboards, as we talked about in game 2, didn't necessarily make it to the late game in game number 3. So you got to think, Hodz, that's going to shake things up a bit.
Yeah, I think this game right here, again, it's hard to tell without the actual results, but I think this game right here is going to kind of flatten out the curve a little bit of the points that we're seeing on the leaderboard.
Was that pun intended with everything going on, Hotzik? Was that intentional? That was impressive. Hashtag flatten the curve. Hashtag flatten the curve.
Let's go. Oh, yeah. I actually didn't even think of that. But no, every single game has had two teams that got way more points than everybody else. Now, I don't think Team Liquid scored a massive amount of points. I think they got 6 kills and a first, so that's 18, which is obviously a good amount. But, you know, it's not any like high 20s or 30s. But obviously TSM put up a massive game. I'm not sure what third place put up, but those are two teams that were on the bottom end of the leaderboard going into that the game that just finished. So this will, I guess, flatten the curve a little bit in terms of probably like the top 5, and it's probably going to make the running a little bit closer now, a little bit less top heavy.
Yep, I think that's spot on. Whereas you were right, top 5 teams, top 6 teams were sitting there with 25 plus points. TSM, I believe, only had 10 points going into that game. Undoubtedly, with a second place finish, they get 9 points in placement. Plus, they got 15 kills. That's going to put TSM at least 24 points in that game alone, putting them up of upwards of around 35, 36 points, and doing some quick math here. So, yeah, that's going to throw TSM. That's going to throw Team Liquid in the hunt. Also, pun intended there. And speaking of on the hunt, they got taken out early on with Mental and Wildebeest and co. So, a team that had a great game number 2 was not necessarily able to show up big in game number 3 and show that consistency. Meanwhile, the consistency of Team Liquid TSM shows true. You, of course, can keep up with all things Apex Legends at Play Apex on social media, of course, Twitter, Instagram, and elsewhere. You can also go to playapex.com/ALGS to keep up with competitive Apex and also to get information for how you can sign up for our online tournaments. Doesn't matter where you are around the globe, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, you can compete in Apex Legends online tournaments by registering online on the Battlefy main page. Also, make sure to tweet at us using hashtag ALGS. We'd love to see your tweets and read some of those tweets out, as well as it looks like we are getting ready straight away for game number 4. We want to jump right back into the action, and to call the action, we are going to jump back to our casters. It's going to be Jamerson and Rain Day. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you guys so much for hanging with us here. We are back and ready for game number 4. We had a lot going on in game 3, and obviously, you know, we're all doing this from home, so there were a couple technical snags, but we got through it, and of course, we're back. We're ready. Jamerson, you can hear me though, right?
I can definitely hear you.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Woo! Don't need to pull a Bravo on that one. All right. And it was totally not, bro. He was fantastic in that.
Oh, he did a great job there. Yeah,
he really did. It was onset, man. He took an English. What do you call it? An English break? I'm making up slang for something that he could have been doing. I have no idea.
English breakfast. I don't know.
He took an English breakfast. He took a tea time.
He had a brekkie. He had a
brekkie.
Call it, right? Yeah.
Because it is so late over there. You got to say a community working so hard. I mean, onset. He's from the EU side of things, so it's pretty late over there, but still giving you their A1 over for the Apex Legends community. And I'm excited, Jamerson. We've got some great things going on, and we've got a big game from TSM that just occurred that really helps set the table for these next 2 games. It's now still TSM and Liquid stepping up into the plate after we had seen teams like Solifide have some really strong performances. And so now we have a much more open field for who will eventually end up winning this next qualifier.
Yeah, the breakdown between the 4 teams up there, 39, 36, 34, and 31 points, but we are loaded up onto the drop ship.
And let's take a second to follow along with that team TSM and see how they're feeling after their big game after that last one.
Team going west for sure.
I think there's a team with us.
They're landing on our side, but they're landing on our side, but they're taking the buildings. They're not doing anything else. They're not landing on us. It's one guy landing on my side. The other 2 turn around. No. The other guy. I saw the other guy turn around. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Either I don't think I'm still forced to fight though. It's fine. I'm not gonna.
Why not? I'm hitting beacon.
This he's shooting.
All right, well, we've got some incredible opportunities here to take a listen to TSM and just normal comms. I'd say a little bit more subdued than sometimes we've seen, but always with that little bit of tension, Jamerson. That is a team that wants to win, that settles for nothing less than first. And, of course, we've had a lot of conversation around how that will end up impacting them throughout this tournament as they're trying to reach the throne here today.
Yeah, I mean, historically, last time, game number 4, this is where they got dropped on, and it slowed down the rotation quite a bit, and so they are wary this time around. Hal understands, and everyone, I think, in this lobby knows exactly how TSM plays this early game so far. They drop Fragment they go ahead and take the beacon, and they try and rotate out as quickly as possible here. 15 more seconds, I think, is kind of like their go timer to make the call to start their move on the rotation.
And things are obviously in looking good for the big names of North America. For the most part, you will see that end up becoming a huge part of what they do and how they end up, I think, succeeding in these moments as we kind of go in and out of some transitions just to spice up your life there. I mean, that kind of sounds like a nice place to be during a quarantine.
Oh, yeah, he was relaxing. There's definitely no one around him. But on board with Smile here, Smile actually having a pretty decent tournament themselves. They've been a mainstay on our online tournaments so far, and it's great to see that they're continuing to find more and more success.
Absolutely, and using the M-Lock, one of those weapons that's kind of been getting a lot of social press lately. I know I myself done some videos on that. We've seen CLG No Cocoa Puffs, kind of the earliest pioneer of this weapon. So valuable to have in so many different ways, and you love to see the variety of weapons in Season 5, which brings us to a general conversation around it as these teams look to start rotating earlier on. Still a lot spread up even to the north, and Skyhook over all the way to the northeast, but and northwest. But you do see just a general awareness that a lot of weapons can get the job done here, Jamerson. It's not just an R9 Peacekeeper that is only going to be able to do it for you.
Yeah, great point, but we got to talk about this right now. TSM, they have lost Abralele here and Imperial Hal getting tagged up, and I think they're getting chased down possibly by that same team. No, it's not. It was Donald Trump's team with Z Davis and Raiders. So the same player that ended up landing on them in game number 4 of Online Tournament 3, doing the exact same thing here, and they were able to actually take out Abralele, and I don't think they were able to recover that banner.
That is huge, and you talk about these things beyond the game, and this is definitely beyond the game. You know, you look at the way Battle Royales, and I think the community has kind of ceded certain areas to certain players, and TSM has continuously not been contested. And we saw this happen last week. We saw it talked about on socials. We saw it talked about, and a little bit of frustration coming out. Felt like it was intentional. Felt like it wasn't a part of what was really the spirit of truly playing for yourself, more just griefing this team. And we're seeing a little bit of a moment again where it does seem like, if anything, this team is saying we are going to fight for this area no matter what. We don't care if you're TSM. We don't care who you are. And it costs them heavily. And Liquid is just going to take that to the bank. So will Complexity, who had that great start to these matches and looking to keep finding success here in these later rounds.
Yeah, as we are now on board with Monsoon. Doesn't have the greatest loadout. At least he has that PK, but definitely doesn't want to be sitting on that alternator, just using it as a mule for now for the attachments until he can upgrade to that. They're trying to bully for position, but it looks like instead they're just going to go ahead and make the rotation to the south instead here. As of course they are, a Pathfinder list team, so they don't have full information on where the circle is ending. It is already pulling down to the southwest, though, towards Thermal Station. So they definitely don't have priority. They should be playing toward the edges, as we can see now that we're on board with Team Liquid. They've got the info. They know where they need to be.
They've got the shots, too. Casper with a couple of big, deep shots down with the Havoc. And, you know, that recoil at that distance, not the easiest thing to control. But he did a good job of hitting those headshots. Just one, it's plenty of damage to put a dent into their shields and their resource count. And you got to look at it like that, Jamerson. Even the triple take here, you're trading one energy ammo or a sniper ammo now, since the energy ammo is a thing of, you know, Apex Legends past for the triple take, for, you know, potentially a shield battery. I mean, that is a great use of resources when you look at it early game. That's why you're seeing so much focus. You're seeing such an incentivization to do it for the value that you're costing them versus what you're really giving up in order to get that poke off.
Drop needs to get out of dodge real quick there. He traded a lot of damage, but I think both Pathfinders had the exact same idea. Just zip away from this. They don't want any more. They don't want to give up anything, especially when you're sitting in the position that you are on the leaderboard right now. Rogue doing a really great job throughout these last 3 games that have put them at second right now, sitting with 36 points so far. They don't want to let this series get away from them. They need to close out games 4 and games 5 strong. They can't make any mistakes here.
And of course, snipe down. We've talked about the story just a little bit. And him rotating into Rogue and fitting in just so well with these squads. And everyone trying to play a little safer. But in the same vein, teams who aren't really in it right now maybe playing a little more aggressively, knowing there's really not a chance if they don't get things going. And that ball rolling with a little momentum. Snipe down the aim god, controller PC, you name it. Wherever you put this man, he is getting the job done in a 1v1. And we see Pow Pow, FPS, rocking that charge rifle. I like the skin choice as well on Madness CLG. Guy who's been alongside Scurry, doing a great job of competing, getting these finals, representing, and really, I think, just a really stand-up guy in the community, obviously bringing a lot of positivity and drive that you love to see from players in a pro environment.
Yeah, all three CLG players know Cocoa Puffs, Wig, and Madness. They've been grinding, and they've gone this split roster kind of thing where they try to form their own teams that continue to compete. And Madness himself, he's got a lot to prove, and he knows it. And he's stated it himself that a lot of the players within the pro community don't take him as seriously now. And this is his opportunity with Team Skirt to really prove a lot of people wrong.
And that's what you're going to be hoping for. It's the team, of course, that had landed with TSM and had briefed, I believe it was Albrelelli, and they're going to look to fall right here thanks to Rogue. So Rogue maybe delivering that divine justice to TSM onto some of their enemies here. And Rogue Sweet, 4 kills already to his name. That's a fantastic start. That's at least 4 points for Rogue, which is not as easy to come by. And honestly can mean the difference here, Jamerson, when you start looking at these final games. Sometimes you've decided Europe last week, all top 6 teams were decided within 10 points of each other. So you never know how much that will have an impact later on.
Take a look. Teenage Rocker and Crust, they are on top of Dream Team right now, who have had a decent showing so far, but this is not a good look for them. Helping is just going to go ahead and back off with this Wraith now. They're currently sitting on 13th, and so he needs to rat out for those for that placement point for his team. Swapping over to Complexity now. They are, of course, a Gibraltar team. They're not a Pathfinder team. They're taking a slow rotation. It looks like they're going to be able to pick up some decent loot here. And now as we're back on board, I like this position coming out from Skirt. They were able to realize it early on. They were able to get the top of this tower. And this is one of the best positions you can have, especially when you're playing with something like the charge rifle. You're trying to pick up those kill points as Pal gets another knock, taking down Johnny.
That's a big couple of kills as well. And you can see just how impactful it is. And when you're charging up an Evo shield, how effective that can be. And we'll continue to fight with all of those teams in just a moment as we follow Crust, Rocker, Apex, and the gentlemen here who are looking to continue moving forward in their progress. We're looking to bring up some standings for you as well soon, at least on my end, so I can keep reminding people where they are, because Teen Rocker and Crust have been having a couple of good rounds. Fisher's representing, and I think a team that people are looking out for. Obviously looking to continue adding to that point total here. 16 squads left, and TSM Imperial Hal. Albrelelli, I think we're getting some information, Jamerson, actually seems to have maybe DC'd in-game or had some issues with his computer. Might not have actually been griefed there or at least landed on and killed, per se, but he is no longer playing.
Okay. At the very least, though, they've got Reps and they've got Hal alive. And if you're going to try and defend the building, these are the 2 players that you desperately want to have, right? Your Watson to set up the traps and, at the very least, try and dissuade people from pushing. That's a good way to dissuade them, as Hal just lays into Casper. Zeratricky will finish him off.
And that's huge, because, of course, it is Liquid. That is the team that took their throne last week and also just was able to finish them off in that top finish in that final 3 circle just last game. So they're going to be getting a little bit of, I guess, revenge there as you head over to Monsoon getting down by Solafide Pride, which is a big one. Blue also falling, so that not yet the end of Complexity, as we still have 16 squads left. So maybe still hope for them to rat it out, get a couple placement points, but still Solafide starting off pretty well.
Yeah, Reptar's on his own now at this point, and so we'll see. Basically, every other squad is full up in this lobby, except for Team Liquid, who are missing Casper there. And it's very difficult, right, at this point, because everyone's playing on a knife's edge. It's such a close top 4. I've got to break it down again. Solafide sitting at first with 39. Rogue at second with 36. TSM third with 34 points, Complexity at 31. So every single member being lost here is a crucial member to try and get to the late game, try and pick up the extra kill points that you need to edge out another team here, as Mercy will go down on that Gibraltar.
And that is a big play right there. Pow Pow FPS still making things rain with the charge rifle, but he's almost out of ammo here. Only 4 in the magazine and 4 in the clip, 1 in the magazine, and he's really looking to try and say, how do I continue here, because I'm running out of the only weapon that matters at this distance. The EVA 8 auto, it's good in some ways, but definitely not good as a sniper. I don't think that meta has evolved just yet. Maybe, hop up in Season 5, Jamerson.
They're doing a great job, though, he and Scurry, of playing the long-range snipers. We have the Scout along with that charge rifle, and they have been getting the knocks. I don't know exactly how many kills they have so far. Scurry with 1, it looks like. Powell with 1 himself, and Madness was able to pick up 1. So these early game KP will be crucial going into the late game. If they can transition out into the mid, into the late, they have a chance of really getting into the top 10 heading into game number 5.
And that is what we're hoping to see here. I mean, these teams taking advantage of everything that they've been given, and there's a lot of randomness to these moments, and yet the same teams continue to be involved. The same teams continue to have opportunities to showcase their skill and put themselves in the top positions. And so the randomness can only be accounted for so much. These players so good at adapting, and that's what Solafide has done. A strong squad over the course of the last few weeks, and now even stronger in this final week. Excuse me. And, of course, Metro, Clarifi, and Prime. Still on the outskirts, but with that Watson and Gibraltar and Wraith, and not with the Pathfinder, they're a little bit more equipped to handle some of these emergency moments that they might have while rotating and navigating these edge fights with the zone pushing in. A lot of defensive moments they could take and just say, hey, let's settle down and kind of get control of this fight back.
And also, a lot of the times, being able to play edge like this, they get to ego teams. They understand that so many teams are playing center that if they find someone here on the edge, that it's more than likely an isolated fight, which is why they're continuing to push forward right now up against On the Hunt here. This would be a huge pickoff if they can take them out of the running. On the Hunt currently sitting on 7th here.
Yeah, and that's a big one as well. Solafide in the top of it all, and that is one of those things that you have to say you do not want to give up, even though you're still sitting pretty. Wildebeest with a nice trade, but Solafide Pride, he finds one right back as well. The shotgun staring at each other in the face, and it's the R99 damage that's going to do the deed for Mental, and it does seem like if you look back at it, Solafide will survive. Metro finds Mental, and oh boy, Solafide not out yet.
Calculated risk, and this is a huge payoff. They shut down one of the teams in the top 10. They pick up 3 extra kill points, but they barely survive. Luckily for them, again, it's a calculated aggression. They understand they're on the outskirts, but now we're on board with Rebels. 6 turns and a knock here. I believe Bow Down, who are fighting for the northern side choke point.
And that is a great spot to hold. You're just right on that edge, and you've got this rock to play off of. High ground as well. You're going to see Knock try to get up there. He's got only 38 bullets in his totality. So he's going to have to back off there with now only 14. And he may just have to get some from Turns, who has plenty. But the Mastiff is coming up. That long-range damage, it doesn't look like a shotgun should be able to hit that hard from there, but it does. That's why it's a care package weapon. And Zeratricky just going to actually use his zipline to get up there, and that's going to be just in circle as well.
Yeah, that dog is definitely more bites than bark. As he gets that knock, now they're going to push forward with it. Zeratricky, the first one in, got one knock, trying to finish them off.
And he tried to go for a nice little grapple to just change positions and maybe fake him out, but the Watson fence was so perfectly deployed. It looks like we may see just a gold knockdown shield as well. That's the blue, and so they're just looking to finish off opponents. But there's the charge rifle from a distance. Oh, Fat Fruit Ninja, he's got like 1 HP, but he's going to get the Phoenix kit off. And that is enough for Risuki to just go through the portal and actually help to get his teammates back up in the line.
Yeah, that was huge. That was a huge one coming out from them. But again, they understood Bow Down as soon as they heard that Massive that they didn't want to try and play that close quarters fights. But Zeratricky understood he has a win condition. He got good damage off from the high ground, and he pushed with it now. On board with Bond. As both of his teammates are down now, he's going to port them up and try and get this res for them, but they're getting a res upon.
And, this is one of those things where you sometimes you take your chances because there's no way you can win this without your teammates. And, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation. Vaughn has the Devotion and a Peacekeeper, and that's the best close quarters DPS you could probably hope to have. but he still doesn't have time for the res. Getting pressured from left and from right, and it looks like he's just going to lose one. So many Arc Stars, no Watson down to be able to hold it, and he's just going to go into his little cubby that he's created and try to heal up. One shield cell remaining, that's going to do it. And he's got to find a way to get out. The rats attack.
It looks like he got a quick armor swap off onto the blue, though, but now it's going to be Team Skirt just poking away at him, but I don't think they got the kill. It's going to be Reps to pick that one up.
Oh my god, and you can't count TSM out. Still finding kills. Flanker, though, they pick up Knocked as well, so just as TSM punches, Liquid punches right back, finding points and finding moments. Scurry, I'm Madness CLG, and Pow Pow FPS of Skirt, they're just holding down. They found a spot in the circle that they like, and Ubin, should pick a huge gorilla. They are looking to just get to that circle, still rotating on the outside, and no Gibraltar, no easy way to, I think, kind of hold this off, unless that Watson has plenty of ultimate accelerants.
Now we are on board with Rogue, who are trying to survive this Gibraltar defensive bombardment as Snipe Down does go down. It's gonna be, I believe, TSM pushing on top of them. Sweet, the lone survivor here. He's got the gold armor, and he has to back away, as Dropped was able to make his way through that portal. Gonna heal up, but there's a nade right on top of him.
That's not what you want to see, but this is exactly what Flanker wants to see. He's got a Havoc, they've got a Flatline, he's got a Scout, that's plenty of damage, but they've also got a defensive bombardment coming out from the Gibraltar, and so they're going to back off and bide their time.
We're down to 9 squads, 20 players left, and so every team just bleeding members here. Very few teams actually at full 3 right now. One of them, though, is Team Skirt, who have put themselves in one of the best positions. They were able to move early on while everyone was scrambling in this rotation here. And they've already picked up a lot of kill points throughout this round. Now, Team Skirt, again, they were in 14th place, tied with 7 points, but they win that tiebreaker out now. But this is one of the best games so far in the finals for them.
Oh, wow. Complexity just hiding it out. They found at least 1 point from this. If they could stay alive into the top 7s and 5s, they're going to get more and more, and they are already sitting pretty at number 4 with 31 points in their name. It's 2 for TSM, and it is 2 for Liquid as well. These two teams that were battling for first and second last week, but now they're looking desperate. Hal and Reps, having lost Albarelli earlier on, just doing their best to hold off against the adversity. The best in the business, they have been for so long. Can they do it again under unthinkable odds? With Devotion right above them, making things difficult, and other teams playing this high ground so patiently.
Oh, Team Skirt know that's TSM underneath them, and they were on the hunt for that. But it doesn't look like they want to give up this position, right? Even though you want to get TSM out of this game, you got to prioritize winning the game at this point, especially with how many kill points that they've been able to pick up throughout this round. They need to also close it out with a really strong finish.
And look at this, Rocker Apex. And Teen, of course, with that Evo shield, and he's going to just try to push forward just a little bit. The Fishers moving in, and of course grabs the wingman, goes back, takes the portal. Crust going to set up the interception pylon, and there's a defensive bombardment to protect it. Excuse me, a dome shield to protect it just for now. As the scouts start raining in, blue shield cracked as well on the rotation, and they continue to drop those Havoc damage, but Liquid Flanker gets close, and he gets down.
Yeah, Nocturnal just needs to try and rat this out now, as they were caught up between 2 full squads there. THC also on the overlook. They have this good angle to try and punish, I believe, Team Skirt on the other end. Good damage coming across from Phony.
And that is solid stuff as well. And you've got a Gibraltar with an Evo shield, probably the best character aside from a lifeline to have it. He's got the extra 15% damage to make use of the extra 25 health. And so it's going to be even harder to get through that extra that he's got going. Skirt, though, still good, and we know TSM is underneath them unless they found a way to move. We haven't checked in on them in a moment. 6 squads left. 12 players left as well, 2s and 2s. We know Liquid only has 1. And these teams are at the top of the leaderboard right now, with Solofide actually leading the charge. Rogue as well right behind them with 36 points, and TSM with 34.
At this point, the difference between 5th and 4th and 3rd place are going to play a massive difference going into game number 5. And we're seeing every team desperately just try and hold out. I'm looking at Lou. He's all out of meds. He understands that he's going to die very shortly. He's just trying to survive to try and hit that 5th place position mark at the very least for his team, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it now.
He's close. He's close. I'm not sure. We're going to have to see how fast these teams die as well. The Happy Campers, not really involved in this tournament, only 2 points to their name in this lobby, haven't had a lot of success, but right now they are sitting very pretty, and we are top 5, and it is Lou who goes down, so he will not claim top 5 for Complexity. A very good job for them. First place team will no longer gain any points as THE starts to fire back and rotate here to the left.
The craziest thing just happened, though. Rogue got dropped on by the entirety of Team Skirts, and now it looks like THC are going to try and clean this up, take out TSM. Do you really want to take this fight?
Oh.
It's Scissors on the high ground there as Refs will then move Ansel back, taking out Pony, and they're going to be able to do it, clean that up. And what a crazy finish, but THC understood their win condition. They saw the trades going down on the low ground. They kept one member up top, and they were able to finish that out.
Unbelievable. The Happy Campers, they find it and out of nowhere find a big win there with, I believe, 10 kills, a first place, and success. But you got to give credit to where credit is due. TSM have a moment, and they're able to do a lot with only 2 players. And obviously stay in contention. Complexity is able to do so much there with Lou staying alive, getting a top 6 placement when they had no right to. Liquid as well stays involved, and so does Rogue. And so the top teams stay ready. And I love the way that we're seeing them compete at the highest level. But the Happy Campers really taking some points away, I think, from these teams that could have pushed one of them into a pretty clear position moving into Game 5, Jamerson.
Yeah, looking at Rogue, TSM, and Complexity, the point difference was 5, right? Rogue was sitting at 36, TSM at 34, and Complexity at 31. And so, like I said, that placement is going to make a huge difference, but it looks like TSM was able to come out on top of that one, might have finished second. I want to see what the exact finish was, just because it's so important, and it's such a tight race amongst our top 5 right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very incredible, I think, kind of assessment of what happens when things go wrong. What do you do with it? I mean, in Battle Royales, really, the principles are that sometimes you're going to get that game where you land, the circle rotates, you got a great, easy rotation, you've already known what the circle's going to be, and then you win the game. But then there are those games where the exact opposite happens, where everything goes wrong. Somebody doesn't show up in a lobby. You get down early. You've got to rotate in a circle you've never seen before, and you have to do the best with what you've been given. And these teams still are performing at a high level, making it into top 5 situations. That shows how good they are in reality, especially since the situation did not promote them doing well in this game.
Yeah, I'd have to completely agree with you there.
Pretty amazing stuff. Thank you so much for casting with me, Jamerson. We've had a fun day today, man, and we're going to get some more in the future. But, of course, we've got to send it back to the analysts, and we've got to get it ready for Game 5 to finish this off and see if it will be Liquid. Will it be Complexity? Will it be TSM or Rogue? Or will we have another surprise winner in this tournament? Let's send it back to Fallout and, of course, Hodzic to give us their answer.
Rain Day, Jamerson, thank you so much for a brilliant day of casting yet again. Fallout here joined back with the mind, the brain of Apex Legends. We got Hodzic joining us in the talent teams and analysts for the very first time. And another very unique late game, another very unique finish. A lot to break down. Anything stand out to you the most there, Hodzic, in that late game?
I learned a lot of new rat spots. That's a very common circle for thermal, and I have not seen that many little cliff areas that you can like hide in, that Lou was hiding in, TSM, Rogue. They all had their own little spots within the mountain. I've been around that area so many times, I've never noticed how many there were.
Yeah, I mean, Lou was in a perfect position. TSM ended up getting second place as they just happened to drop into the most perfect spot. They were blessed with a second place finish, it looked like. Shout out to our Apex Legends level designers for creating those little nooks, those little opportunities to create those moments because, man, no other game has a finish like that, have moments like that, where TSM was in a world of hurt in such a bad spot, is somehow, some way able to drop down into a little crevice, stick there through the late game, get a little bit blessed and lucky with the way the ring rotated, and secure a second place finish. Another 9 points for second, plus they got 4 points in kills alone. Let's take a look at this late game here. The Happy Campers dropped on a whole squad of TSM and was able to just outmuscle them with, I think they had a 3 versus 2 numbers advantage against TSM and did come out on top in the end. But again, TSM some way, somehow finds a way to secure a second place finish after losing Alberta early.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you were talking about how like they were in shambles for a bit. I mean, take a look at Lou for the longest time, hanging out right next to lava on death's door. Man had like maybe 10 HP, refusing to heal because he didn't want anybody to hear him. And I think he survived for 2 circles. And that was also giving Complexity some really, really big and really needed points. So hats off to him because I believe Monsoon and Reptar got picked really early on. I think right around 18 squads left. So somehow the big boy Jibby was able to rat it out and get them some crucial points as well.
Yeah, and then I think they ended up Complexity securing a 6th place finish and a total. They got 3 kills as well, so they got a total of 6 points out of there. So they're able to sneak away at least 6 points. In the end, Happy Campers with a good 1st place finish. They picked up a few kills as well, so you got to think that significantly propels them in the points category. We'll see if Happy Campers can be kind of one of our underdog teams to make it consistently. But in the end, the consistency of TSM has shown the last 2 games. They get 2nd place and 2nd place back to back. We'll of course have our results here in a moment. Looks like the Game 4 results are ready. Let's take a look at the Game 4 results to see exactly how things have shaped up as a result of Game 4. You see it. We mentioned it. Happy Campers with 8 kills, 1st place, 12 points. That's a total of 20. Skirt, Madness & Co. with an 8-kill game and a solid finish as well. They get 15 points. Rogue, another solid performance. Honestly, Rogue has been the most consistent team throughout. They get 14. TSM right after that. So an interesting Game 4. I'm excited to see how that shakes up our overall standings, which we have ready in just a moment as well. Let's take a look at the overall standings to see where things are at going into Game 5. The stage will certainly be set. The storylines, of course, we've talked about throughout. And here it is. It is Rogue in 1st place with 50 points, but right behind them are Solafide and TSM, our number 1 and 2 placing teams in the online tournament number 2. As it looks like they are neck and neck with 47 points apiece. Finally, a pretty big drop off to number 4 and 38. Hodzik, what stands out to you?
Pretty crazy. Rogue definitely didn't surprise. In the back of my mind, since you and I didn't see the scoreboard from last time, Rogue in the back of my mind was kind of who I thought was going to be first, just because again, it's not about dropping 20 bombs wins every single time. It's all about just playing super consistently and just putting up points across every single game. And Rogue has been doing that. Solafide as well. That surprises me a little bit. I mean, they have been playing super well. I didn't realize they were playing ultimately that well, being tied with TSM. It definitely sets the table for a crazy end game. Fisher's right behind them. All they need is one really, really good game to take that. Complexity, I think all of the teams in the top 5 have a very big opportunity to still be able to win this tournament. It's not out of the question for Liquid. They would need a lot of variables to fall into place. They need a big win on top of all the other teams ahead of them kind of dying early, but it is possible. So I'm sure we're going to see some really, really interesting events in the next game. Eyes will be glued to the kill feed.
Yeah, that's for sure. Game 5 will determine our winner yet again in North America. We have a Game 5 to determine the entire winner. We've seen that every single week in Europe. North America, sometimes it's been a little bit of a landslide in favor of TSM. Last week, a little bit of a landslide in favor of Team Liquid as they had a huge Game 5 to secure their win. This time around, we're seeing a lot of our heavy titans in Apex Legends. 4 of the 5 teams to watch that we identified, of course, some of our largest organizations supporting Apex Legends, Complexity, Rogue, TSM, Team Liquid in our top 6 right now. Skirt was kind of the other wild card team to watch. They're currently sitting in 9th place with a solid finish right there as well. So a lot of teams that you've heard of that you know and love all have an opportunity to go big here in game number 5 to secure his 1st place finish. We thought maybe it would be Complexity, but actually it's been Rogue. It's been stepping up in a massive way. It's their game to lose as they're sitting in 1st place with 50 points. It's been a wild ride so far. Let's go ahead and take a look at the game 1 through 4 highlights to see how exactly the action is broken down so far. Starting off in game number 1, where we saw Complexity honestly go massive throughout the entirety of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is their game to basically win. They got off to a hot start, just kind of like last tournament, right? And their goal from here was to just keep putting points on, but they unfortunately choked a couple.
And then game 2, of course, was where we got in the 3-team standoff. It was actually battle of one of the Halo goats, Snipe Down, versus one of the Gears of War goats in Mental in the last 2 teams. In the end, it was Solafide, though, who says, hey, console plebs, we're going to take this one. Solafide comes out on top. Meanwhile, game number 3 was all Team Liquid as they were so well positioned early on, leveraged that positioning into a number 1 finish over TSM, who just laid out. That was the massive game that TSM needed. And then, of course, game number 4.
Yeah, I believe this is where, I think Solafide, this is them, taking out Monsoon and Lou very early on. Like I said, 18 squads left. Hurt their progress a lot, but Lou was able to squeak out a lot of points. TSM obviously ratting out to 2nd place and being able to actually secure a 2nd from, I believe, Albert Lilly, don't quote me on this, but I believe he froze very early on, and he was the first person dead in the lobby, and they ended up clutching his 2nd. That's massive. Big shout out. I mean, TSM, their rack game is just unparalleled.
They always find a way. I mean, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are or any odds stacked against them. Of course, they got dropped on in Fragment, which they're not used to, and they wouldn't prefer a little shake up there in game number 4. But they were able to get out of Fragment, of course, with 1 casualty, 2 players left, and despite having to make a massive rotation from the north side of the map in Fragment East all the way to the bottom left side of the map, they were still somehow able to make it to a second place finish in a way that only TSM could do. It's been a crazy day of Apex. We, of course, want to hear your thoughts. Make sure to use the hashtag ALGS and follow on social at PlayApex on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and elsewhere. Let us know your thoughts. You, of course, can also go to playapex.com/ALGS to keep up with all things competitive Apex Legends. We are going into game number 5. Who will take it? Will it be Rogue secure themselves as the 3rd team to secure a victory or a championship in the online tournaments? Or will TSM, the fan favorites, the unarguably best team in Apex Legends history, clutch up? Let us know your thoughts using hashtag ALGS right here, right now. I'd love to see your thoughts. It's been a crazy day of Apex action. The gameplay has certainly followed suit, and we, of course, are honored to be able to bring the action and commentate the action. Again, Fallout here and Hodzik. Tweet at us as well. We'd love to see your thoughts and our mentions, as we're going to keep a close eye on Twitter and hopefully see what your thoughts, your reactions are, what the community sentiment is. Who's going to take it? TSM, Rogue? Will Complexity and Monsoon go big? I'm interested to hear. Or, your boys, Team Liquid, Hodzik. In your eyes, who will come out on top? Do you think TSM's going to clutch up?
It's so tough. Times like these is like where, for example, TSM really shines. They live for these types of really tense situations, and they usually take it home right at the end. Wouldn't be the first time they've done it. Solofide has been playing very, very, very well. It would be nice to see them get a win, just because they haven't had that kind of limelight for at all, I think, actually. But I don't know. In terms of consistency and at least judging out the first 4 games, I mean, it's easy to say because they're first, but Rogue is just playing very consistently and very well. Absolutely would not surprise me to see them take it all.
The addition of Snipedown, perhaps the X factor and the difference maker. He impacts every single team that he is on. We'll see if Rogue can end up on top. Solofide right behind them, a team that's done it the right way, the humble way. Looks like game number 5 is ready to go. Get ready. Get excited. We got a game number 5 to determine a winner yet again with an Apex Legends online tournament. And to bring the action, to bring us home, we got Bravo and Onset.
Fallout, Hodzik, thank you so much for the great work all afternoon. Hodzik, by the way, so great to have you on this show. By the way, it's amazing that we mentioned Hodzik on the last show. He's already on this one. But Onset, our game number 5, this is going to be a fantastic one. We really couldn't ask for a better setup here going into the 5th and final game.
We couldn't ask for more. And I think you've summed it up perfectly there. Everything we could have asked for at the start of this tournament, with how it seems like that top of the table and those tier 1 teams are getting closer and closer in skill and performance across tournaments as well, can all be epitomized in this final game right now. We don't know who's going to win. TSM backs against the wall, but again, found themselves in a way to potentially win a tournament. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to watch it.
Absolutely. We're about to drop in right now. We'll have a lot of time to talk about exactly where all these teams sit. We'll review the standings to tell you exactly who needs what in terms of points to get us into this final match. And it is going to be a fantastic one. Just as a reminder, in terms of where things sit right now, Rogue in first with 50 points. Solofide tied with TSM in second with 47 points. The rest of the teams about 9 points or more behind them, but it's going to be a fantastic game number 5. And to kick things off, what better way than to get into a little bit of team communication with the likes of not only one of our top squads, but also one thing I want to do is hear the likes of Rogue here on this drop. Folks, the 5th and final game of the ALGS online tournament number 4 is underway, and we are jumping into team comms with Rogue.
Could you imagine? That would be fun. Dude, what if this come out to kill us? And
We
everyone's
don't, we don't die going through this, right?
No, you don't.
Dude.
Bro, there's literally no chance.
Ah! Imagine.
You can
That was pretty fucking sketch, though.
look
Imagine,
around. There might be a team that might come with us. Be ready for that. We're good, I think. Yeah.
Imagine you just aren't paying attention, you insta-hop, and you turn left, and the beam's there, and we lose because of that. That'd be pretty epic.
Would never happen. I'm the best jump master in the game.
Oh, dude, a building let me down. What do we got? What do we got? Oh my god. Okay, we need to early rotate and get into Lava City.
Yep.
All right, they're able to hear a little bit of Rogue with this new roster here playing with Snipedown. Once again, not necessarily a permanent roster just yet, but Onset, you made a great point. If this is Snipedown's tryout with the Rogue side, they're certainly doing well. Not only have they performed well today, they are sitting right now in first place with 50 kills, and you have to think a big part of that is Sweet's 8-kill fourth place in game number 4.
Yeah, kill points have been the difference in so many different situations across tournaments, and once again, it's showing in this tournament itself. A few kills here and a few kills there, a few extra kills as a two-man when you're trying to scrape your way towards some placement points is what all adds up towards the end and what makes these Game 5s such an exciting spectacle for everyone at home to watch. And I'm sure that everyone who's watching at the moment has their own teams they're supporting, has their own players that they want to see pop off in this Game 5, and honestly, it's an honor to cast this game, and I just cannot wait to see how it ends up.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. Thank you, everyone, also for tuning in all day for coverage of the Apex Legends Global Series Europe and now North America. We're in the home stretch as the guys on Bow Down going to see what they can find out of Cargo Bot. Only a little bit of goodies, so now 6 is still going to have to be on the hunt for an armor of some sort. There'll be a white for now for them. But just in case you're just joining towards the end of the broadcast, do want to give you a lay of the land to tell you exactly where the rest of the teams are. We talked about that top 3, TSM in the third place spot. Fishers is in 4th with 38 points. Complexity is in 5th with 37. And Liquid, who took the last tournament, is now in 6th with 30 points. That is your top 6. Rogue, Solafide, TSM, Fishers, Complexity, and Team Liquid. Those teams, of course, and more can still take this one. It's all down to our 5th and final game here will determine exactly who takes this tournament. And as the guys were talking about in pregame, right, the teams are just so close going into 5 games. It's kind of a nice balance where you do need consistency to perform here, but coming into the 5th game, oftentimes it's the case where 6 or so teams can take it.
Yeah, and just to hammer home the point you've made there about how tight it is, you mentioned the top 3, and it's only 3 points that separates those teams. So, I mean, that's 1 kill, that's, surviving for 1 placement point. Every single decision that has been made throughout all of these games is amplified, is magnified in a Game 5 like this when it is so tight at the top of the table. 1 mistake is what could lose a team a game. 1 piece of genius is what could make a team win a tournament here. But we are actually going to see a very early knock here onto Reps, and it looks like TSM might be coming under a little bit of pressure here.
Hal's able to just boost him straight through to try to get this. Hal's going to try to get this bat off. Reps actually will go down because there's all sorts of fire still coming in from Lava City as well. So this could spell disaster. They need to be very careful how they play this. Aberlele also able to get the full bat off as well. And right now, they know there's still going to be pressure coming in from those Lava City buildings.
It looks like Aberlele's been given the all clear to just try and maybe scout out somewhere for them to get to once they do manage to get that res. And that's exactly what's happened here. Somehow they've managed to get Reps back up on his feet. So TSM, an early scare for them here in this game, but keeping their composure. We know how good they are in these games, but Reps looks like he's been taken down again. So now it's a little bit of an up and down game here for TSM. They need to be careful. Do you go for that stick and the res and possibly risk losing 2 players for your full complement, or do you just try and play this one out as a 2? It looks like Aberlele and Imperial How are desperately trying to get back here, and you just saw the handoff and an ult excel as well to How to just give him the ability to portal Reps out, but he needs to be quick because I know that there's going to be a lot of scopes and a lot of guns currently looking on Reps' body.
And that was the Dream Team that was giving such trouble to TSM. Once again, the Dream Team going to be Health, Rogue, and Aces, qualifying 5th in their semifinal, actually coming from TSM's semifinal as well. Now also looking at the Smile side. We're, of course, going to keep an eye off screen to see exactly what happens with TSM, but that early pressure could spell disaster. Reps, by the way, thirsted off screen as well.
Yeah, we're looking at the overhead map here, and we can see it is going to be a southeasterly pull on the ring. So you're going to see the likes of Lava City, maybe even Geyser, where this could be a potential end zone here. It looked like TSM had obviously opted to rotate deep into that circle, trying to get as deep as possible in, something that Hodzik talks a little bit about on his VOD reviews. If you have the opportunity to go and watch some of those, getting as deep into the circle means that you're going to have the slower side of the circle to work with. You're not going to have as much pressure on your back, but of course, you've got to go through some teams to get there yourselves.
Look at Solafide as well, though, now, of course, already losing a player as well that gets thirsted. Solafide, as a reminder, tied with TSM in 2nd. So essentially, Rogue right now keeping an eye on the kill feed, like Fallout and Hotzik were talking about. All eyes on the kill feed. Rogue has just seen that Solafide has had a player thirsted as well as TSM. So they're going to know that right now, as long as they play their game, they're going to be sitting pretty. However, they're not going to lean back at all, certainly getting ready for this. But just as quickly as I say that, sorry, I was checking a look at observer feed. Snipe Down has also been thirsted. So somehow, I think this is the first time I've come into this scenario. Our top 3 coming into Game 5 are all squads of 2 with 20 squads left.
Yeah, I want to see if TSM managed to get reps up. I want to see if they got their full complement of players back, because I'm looking across here and you can see there are teams that have obviously rotated into Lava City and the buildings there. Is TSM in there as a 2, or have they, out of all the teams that we have seen, managed to get that 3rd player in?
Well, yeah, they would have had to hit a... They would have actually had to hit a respawn, because Reps did get thirsted in the feed. So they're going to... We'll have to see. And Reps, there you go. There's your answer on set. Shout out, to, of course, to our great observer team, able to track the action not just all tournament long, but all day long for both North America and Europe. As we see now how Reps and Aberlele, so their wish is your command on set, as Reps is back into the action on white.
Yeah, you ever get a feeling of deja vu sometimes as well? TSM set up in that bottom floor of the building in Lava City. The grenade that was heard across the Apex world by Aberlele towards the end game to win them that and win the championship in online tournament number 2. It looks like a similar setup for them here. They're very well versed in that particular part of the map. It'll be interesting to see if they can execute in the same kind of way.
Well, also, speaking of a similar tune being sung, also going to be Metro for Solafide, who's back in as well. So 2 out of our 3 squads have gotten their member back into the game. They will be both squads of 3. Of course, that last member going to be on white armor until they find something better. But also, Snipe Down going to be the only one who has not been brought back. So right now, Sweet and Dropped are desperately trying to get to a beacon right around either Sorting or the Ridge.
Yeah, and you're looking at Prodigy Aces helping and Rugrat at the moment, and the issue that they have at the moment as Rogue is kind of poking around here with that scout in hand is they would have been running into TSM. I think they've actually forced TSM out of that bottom floor, potentially over to this slightly more westerly building within Lava City. So that's where the pressure is going to start coming in. These buildings, although there's a lot of cover, there's a lot of different levels. They're going to become very congested very quickly as all teams move across. But although we have seen a few players drop, Andy, we have to point out here, 20 squads still alive. There hasn't been a full squad wipe quite yet.
Right, perfect timing there. We just saw Sweet and Drop trying to once again work together to get Snipe Down back into this game. They're actually getting pressure from the pass that's just to the north of Sorting, where they have their eyes right now, as they were unable to get that for now. But now also checking in with the guys on this side. This is going to be the ALGS Points Farmers, RKN, Petty Boss, and Johnny on your screen for a second. But now looking at Fishers, this is the XE United squad of Rocker, Teen, and Crust. And here we go. Here's the respawn for Snipe Down.
Yeah, they have to be careful here. They have to get him in. They have to have an escape strategy as well. And it's the Pathfinder who's going to go for the respawn. It looks like he's not actually going to be brought in quite as yet, because I think that it was actually Dropped who was doing a little bit of, it was Sweet who was doing a little bit of scouting as that Wraith, and probably realized that it wasn't as safe as they probably initially thought, as the team was rotating in pretty late through the choke coming in from Fragment. So although it could have stuck it there, Snipe Down would have been toast with so many teams in that kind of area. So a smart decision there, maybe just to hold onto Snipe Down's and try and deliver him to a different beacon on the map.
Yeah, I mean, talk about the Ridge choke, the Ridge and all of really northern Sorting as a difficult part to be in the map any time of the game, but especially trying to get a respawn at this point in the game would be very difficult here. Now take a look at Rocker and a little bit of PK damage there, and also trying to see if he can wrap a kill around here. Teen taking a whole lot of damage, but gets a heal off. It's going to be Crust was the one needing the heal as well. More PK shots coming in now. Actually has to go 301 from the hip, and will get that first one, but it's actually going to be Swoop who pushes in on Rocker. Now it's going to be up to Teen to try to stay alive, and is able to get that. That's going to be big. Goes for the respawn for a second, baits the respawn as well. Now Crust is going to be there to help. So once again, now as we see Rocker, Teen, and Crust holding on. Snipe Down is also back in the game for Rogue, so now that marks our top 3 squads, each able to bring their 3rd member back into the game. And Snipe Down dodging every shot he can to try to fly into this side of Sorting.
Yeah, Snipe Down with the equivalent of running from your bathroom to your bedroom and realizing that the curtains are open and the neighbors are watching. So you got to be very, very careful that you get away with no armor or nothing to work with. But back to the battles that are going on at the moment, and this one's going on towards the dome of the top of Lava City, and you can see those players are going to be taken out. So that's going to be kill points on the board for Bowser, as we see Johnny being taken out with the Havoc, and now we're going to see Snipe Down moving back in. He's managed to get a blue armor as well, so it looks like Rogue are back up to a full complement, and that's kind of been the story of the game so far. Players have been dropping for our teams in contention, but they've also managed to find a way to get back into the game.
Sweet going to be thanking Dropped for that. Zip is able to take avoid taking a lot more damage, going to heal a little bit more as well. We did see Yeet Squad taking down the ALGS Points Farmers on screen for just a moment. So now back on board with the complexity, a team we have not talked about enough because they have had quite a tournament as well. Right now they are in 5th place with 37, certainly within spitting distance of a victory for them as well if they're able to have a huge game number 5. Lou, the newest addition to this roster. They're going to be happy with their performance so far, but you know this roster, they're going to be looking for first place. Monsoon here with some great damage out of the 99 as well as the Eva hits the quick knock on Clarify.
Yeah, and if there's one team who can make up a lead, it's this team, Complexity. They're 13 points behind the leaders Rogue before this game did get underway, but as we know, the slaying ability, the mechanical ability is, it's pretty much unmatched by a lot of players. It's a case of if they can be consistent across a series. As we see Complexity now once again in a battle, and I might have spoken too soon here because Lou's having to back down. Monsoon's been taken down in this battle as well, and it looks like Monsoon is going to be taken out of the game, and now it's Complexity who are down to 2 men. Can they get Monsoon, the kind of spiritual leader and the spark that they have in their game, back in the same way that TSM and Rogue have done successfully?
Yeah, going to be very, very tricky as we also see Monsoon and crew getting taken down here. They're going to have to be very careful. And Teen is the only one alive here still now for the Fishers side. And now more shots going to be coming in. Looks like that should be all she wrote. Yes, indeed, that will be Fishers out as well. 16 squads left. A few of those KP going to the side of Lou, as you see in the feed as well. Lou now going to be sitting on that red Evo. And like you said, losing Monsoon is going to make a very difficult home stretch for them in game number 5. Still 16 squads remaining.
Yeah, losing Monsoon not only for his slaying ability, but also because you've lost your Wraith. So movement around the map is going to be much, much more difficult. And you look at their positioning at the moment, they're playing edge. So they do have the Gibraltar still, and they have that option to use that bubble and move in slowly. However, the way that Complexity are going to win this game is by picking up KP. So they need to get involved in some fights. And when you're down to a 2-man representation instead of a 3-man, all of a sudden, the numbers game doesn't really fall in your favor.
Absolutely. Now looking at Solafide, Pride. They were able to get Metro back in, but now it's going to be Pride who has been thirsted completely. So going to be a tough situation for them. Just recapping, both Rogue and Solafide now squads of 2 again for the second time in the game. And that's going to make TSM the only squad of 3. Excuse me, Rogue now back in as well. So, sorry, I misspoke there, as now we're going to see all players of Rogue, of course, have been brought back in. Solafide now, and Complexity was the other partial squad. So now it's going to be Rogue as well as TSM on 3 players, but on the other side, still the side of Solafide on 2 players.
Yeah, Solafide, what a performance it has been from those 3 players as well. Really given every single team a run for their money. They're coming into this particular game with, just a few points out from potentially becoming champions. It's tied on second place, with TSM on 47 points, just 3 points behind Rogue, who are holding down that first place. And I don't think many players and many people would have really backed this team with some of the big names and big teams we have in this lobby to perform. But speaking of big names and big players that might be coming under a bit of pressure, Andy, Team Liquid have now lost one of their players.
And it's going to be difficult because they're not only in 6th place, but they're in 6th place and they're trailing by 20 points. It's very different for being in 6th and say trailing by something like 10. They're going to need a miracle game here, and they're going to need devastatingly poor performances from the likes of Rogue, TSM, and Solafide. That is a lot to ask for. They are able to get Flanker back up, but we'll have to see what they're going to be able to pull out here as we also check in with a few other squads. TSM, by the way, doing a little bit of poke damage here as they're going to be very comfortable set up now. Just getting a little bit of extra damage. Rep's still on that white armor. They're going to be looking to try to see if they can get a poke. Hal doing well to just set up that port, able to just go right back, and that's perfect timing. You take a look at the clock, right, 149 before the move. Hal knows that he can go ahead and get that drop, check it out, bring everything back, and that's why he's one of the best races in the game in terms of timing. Also going to do a little bit of extra scouting here as well.
Yeah,
with a Mastiff in hand.
A little bit of extra scouting. I was going to say, what had Santa brought Imperial Hal as far as presents were concerned in that care package? And it is the Mastiff. And I mean, if you wanted any weapon on a drop when we're getting towards the end game, the ring is closing in, teams are closing in, the Mastiff is going to be what you would pray for. It has fallen into the hands of TSM, but I want to make a point. It hasn't just fallen into their hands. They have done such a good job of securing that. Hal putting his portal out, and you saw the cover fire as well on all the other portals from the likes of Albaleli and Reps. They protected their boy. They did everything they could to get that care package, and that is what could completely change this game.
Absolutely, and now with a minute before this move, I actually want to jump it back into a team comm, listen in with TSM if we can, as we hear them set up for this next move, get a little bit before these next battles that come. Let's go into a team comm listen in with TSM.
I've got 40, that's all I need for my
I got 40 bullets. Oh, wait. And I have 16 triple take bullets.
Here, take some back. We need to look for kills here if we can. They're fighting.
They're
dying, they're dying.
Rogue down. Rogue is full dead.
Two are down on Rogue.
No. Yeah, one's full dead. They're not.
One is full dead. Only one.
Snipe is down though, right?
No.
And you see TSM getting so excited about that, of course, as they thought for a second that Rogue might be full kill. Now only finding out that that was one player that went all the way down. That's going to be sweet. That did get thirsted. Now Snipe down goes down. Now dropped as well. Snipe down, the last player, trying to make something here. We'll see exactly what they're going to be able to do. Now Snipe down will go down as well. Now taking a look, somehow Bow Down is the team getting a little bit of extra kills there as well. Here on board with 6 as well as Knocked.
Yeah, all of Rogue dropping is going to be massive. Reason being, they were the team that were top of the table. That means that point gap can be taken down step by step by all of the teams that are chasing. There is now a target to be hit, and Rogue were that target. Now that they're potentially out of this game, that leaves it open for the likes of TSM, for the likes of Solar Fide to potentially move through here with a few kill points and a decent placement. This is going to be tight, but we're going to probably have someone taking over that first spot.
Yeah, this is going to get interesting indeed, and we would want things no different in game number 5. Still so much yet to play, as we do have 12 squads left. Taking a look at the side of Smile momentarily, going to be able to get some heals off, slow healing, as well as getting some cells and bats, avoiding that bombardment. So now taking a look, Bronzy, Smile, and Only One Mini, really a team we haven't talked about enough. We've seen Bronzy play under the Golden Guardians banner as well. Some great scout poke coming out of Only One Mini as well, and now we'll wait for this next minute to see exactly how things go. But right now, I mean, TSM, they always sound great in those moments of setup, knowing exactly what they need to do, and you have to think with all that they've had to fight against in this tournament, of course, challenging circumstances in game number 4 with Aberlele dropping due to that freeze as well. Now, going to be looking to have vengeance in game number 5. Like we said, this is TSM on the 9th inning stretch. Can they do it? But lots of teams in their way, as we also look at Wildebeest, Mental, and Impulsive Dream. This is On the Hunt, placing second in their semifinal, just behind Solar Fide.
I just want to touch on the team comms that we heard from TSM again very quickly as we jump on board with Team Liquid and see what they're doing. One thing that you notice from the communication is, yeah, they have a great spot on the map, but they also realize that a great spot on the map does not mean they're going to get the points required to overtake Rogue and potentially the other teams who are coming up behind them. How we're saying we need to look for kill points. We need to try and catch some players coming in on the rotation. That's the difference. A lot of teams will be thinking, we'll play for endgame. We'll see what kills we can kind of get and see if we win. TSM want to take the initiative here. They want to take the game to their opponents, and as round 5 is about to close, this is where things are about to get very, very exciting.
Absolutely. Now Shiny PC's finally getting pushed, as now it's all going to be up to Euban to try to make something happen here, and it was a prayer there, as it's going to be Tempest is able to pick up a few KP there. You also see in the feed Hal still picking up some massive kills on Aces. We are now down to our top 10 in game number 5. Hal on purple, Ref's able to find a purple as well. And now as we take a look at Liquid here, once again trying to make a miracle happen in what will be the first of many 2v3s here for this final, as we now have 9 squads remaining.
Yeah, they managed to get their full complement of players back up. As you can see, Casper being brought back into the game. The only issue for them is the fact that they pressured from all sides, but they do have a nice center zone position potentially here. I think that stairwell might just about be in the circle, so they can play a little bit slower, they can wait for people to push them, but with the only essentially one edge of the building in right now, there's going to be teams desperately contesting for this space. A floor, a corner, anything they can get hold of as that ring closes is going to be absolutely vital. And one team who are set up with a perfect line of sight on that end circle, it is Deja Vu. It is pretty much the same zone that TSM won their last online tournament for. It's all happening again here. TSM, they're in a great position.
I was going to say the same thing. We've seen them look out this, I believe, exact doorway towards that back fence. They know exactly how to play this. They have their eyes set up. Pings are going to go down. They know exactly how they need to play this. They're going to have teams that are going to be trying to poke them from the roof. They're going to get the perfect placement on the ult, but can they nail the execution? We still do have Happy Campers, the team that plays just behind TSM in their semifinal. They do have this rooftop, still 8 squads left. We're also seeing that TSM may not even need first tier points wise, which certainly makes sense in order to claim this tournament. We won't call that just yet though, because a lot of teams are going to try to shut them down. Here goes the bombardment along that fence coming out from the Happy Campers.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in note as well, I know I keep mentioning it, but it's going to be such a game changer as we see How take the opportunity to set that portal for their move. How has the Mastiff. He has the game in his hands when it comes to a close quarter battles. If they can move to the back of that little fence you see in front of them, the concrete fence, they can get the Watson ult down, then there's a real opportunity here for TSM to potentially put in a game-winning performance.
Here we go, ult is down. Hal's the first to drop to Aberlele as well. Reps goes down at TSM. They are out. They are out. They're our first team to exit. They might have made the call too soon. TSM is our first to go from the top 8 just like that. And history would not repeat itself. The rest of the lobby not allowing that same exact play to take the tournament. That will not be the story here. We'll have to see how the points go, but Happy Camper still raining down death here as 7 squads are still left in the game after that close.
Yeah, Happy Campers are in position to upset everyone at the moment. They were coming into this game on 22 points. We have to wonder, is that going to be enough for TSM to maybe hold on or maybe eat up the advantage that they had to make? It's going to go down to getting the abacus out, getting the calculator out as far as the points are concerned. But for the Happy Campers sat up on this high ground, as far as this singular game is concerned, they're in a great spot, but they're going to have to make a move pretty soon.
Absolutely. Now I'm also going to...
For the Happy Campers sat up on this high ground, as far as this singular game is concerned, they're in a great spot, but they're going to have to make a move pretty soon.
Absolutely. Now I'm also going to pull up our overall standings here on a second monitor just to keep an eye on exactly who's going to be in the running. Happy Camper still up top now with only 2 players left, but still on white armor, just still going to try to lay this down. Flanker actually gets down in the feed. That's going to be a pretty important moment just because, as we said, Team Liquid was still in the potential running to take this. They would need a lot of the remaining KP and placement points as well to do it, but certainly within the realm of possibilities, lots of revives happening, and all of Team Liquid ready to go on the home stretch here. And this is going to be one heck of a final pin circle now with 36 seconds left on the close.
I just wonder if there's enough points left in the game here for Team Liquid to pull off a miraculous somehow steal of a championship here from the likes of TSM, from the likes of THC, from all of these teams that have been in such tight contention for the majority of this tournament. And it really does come down to decision making at this point. I'm not sure that any of the teams outside of Team Liquid are in position to win this, so we've got to really, in my opinion, focus on what Team Liquid do in this final circle.
Liquid might be one of the only teams that's able to do it right now. I believe they're certainly the only team within the top 6 that are in our final mix. And now, as it's going to be Madness saying that free portal needs to be going, and everyone is going to be converging here. This is going to be absolute chaos. Actually, Team Liquid going down. Several players in the feed need to be careful here, and it's going to be absolutely nutty. Very Tricky goes down. Raiders goes down as well, and now some zipping up top will maybe be the difference maker. Nades go down for the Happy Campers. Can Happy Campers close it out? Bombardment coming down as well. Scissor's the only player alive for his team. I think he's going to do it now. Just checking. No, it's a 1v1, not looking for a shield. Instead, looking for this Wraith to try to see if he can hit this now. And I think in a moment, this should be a Happy Campers victory unless that Wraith is still able to come back through. Yes, the Wraith does come through now, just looking for where the gold res is. That's exactly where the gold res shield will be. It's going to be Scissors of Happy Campers, if I'm not mistaken, closing it out if he can get back through. And we'll see. Absolute Madness. No, I don't think that Scissors is going to get it. And we'll have to see. We didn't have the POV on the ops exactly who is going to take victory. We're going to wait for that stat screen to pull up because I don't think we got to look at exactly who might have taken the victory that game. We're going to wait till that comes in, but I need a moment to catch my breath on set.
I think that might have... It's Smile who won, I believe,
Smile.
But I think it might have been the player with the res shield who actually stayed alive there. Again, in the carnage of an endgame of Apex, it's so difficult to kind of pick out that singular moment, but that's kind of a secondary story, right, to this entire tournament. Huge congratulations, of course. Great win, points on the board. But we need to do the maths now. We need to get the clever people, not me, on the case to work out who is our champion.
Let me give you Team Liquid in 6th with only 1 kill. Very important. TSM in 8th with only 1 kill. That, I believe, is our entire top 6 is only represented by 2 teams, Team Liquid and TSM, in the top 8 for game number 5.
It couldn't be
if you're
tighter.
staying with me. If you're staying with me. Absolutely wild results that we just saw. We're going to need a whole lot of math. Let's track exactly where Rogue exited as well as we take a look. 15th with only 2 kills. We got to see where Fishers is as well. 17th with 8 kills, which kind of throws things on its head. And Complexity in 14th with 3 kills. Now, I know those numbers without the proper calculation probably are causing you just as much of a headache as they are me. So I am going to just let our analysts break everything down. Onset, it's been a pleasure casting this wild and rather
Likewise,
historic
brother.
game number 5 with you. And we're going to let our analysts pull out their calculators. That's going to be it for Onset and I. Fallout and Hodsick, you guys take us away and let us know who won this tournament.
Bravo, Onset. Thank you so much for navigating us through what was a crazy game number 5 from start to finish. Usually we talk about the late game was nuts. The mid game was crazy. There was this interesting fight. But Hodsick, from the very, very beginning of that game all the way to the very end of that game, it was absolute madness. Revives for TSM, revives for Rogue. You think that they survived, and then they get taken out with an 8th place and 15th place finish that you didn't expect. Walk me through that game from start to finish and why that was one of the most unique or interesting game 5s we've ever seen in Apex history.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with that one. I mean, I think the first 3 people dead were the top 3 teams, I believe, or at least in the top 5. Like, so many fragmented top 5 teams in contention right there. All of them eventually got rezzed, then got decent placements, some of them fighting early. But it's just bizarre to see your top 6 teams in the entire round to somehow like fall very, very early on. Very, very bizarre. I have no idea who may have won this one. It's completely up in arms. We're going to have to wait for the official standings.
Yeah, I think only Apex could provide such a unique and entertaining game number 5. We thought history was being repeated. You know, Onset called it beautifully. The exact same scenarios when TSM won online tournament number 2 maybe it was online tournament number 3 in the late game with a perfect position, perfect portal. As soon as they get through that portal, they think they're going to be sitting pretty with the Mastiff for some close range shots. It's 2 arc stars placed perfectly by Mental, who rained on the parade and shut down the opportunity for TSM. All they needed was a top 3 finish. Of course, all they needed is easier said than done. Instead, On the Hunt ends the run in game number 5 for TSM as they were vying for a first place finish. So this is the only game where I honestly, Bravo was trying to walk us through the brilliant and crazy mind of Bravo, but I have no idea where things are going to be shaken up here in when it comes down to it in the final results. I mean, honestly, I can't even begin to think. Happy Campers was, and let's talk about the very late game too, Hot. It's like Happy Campers was so close from securing a back-to-back win. 24 points just from placement alone in 2 games, and a little bit of a misplay stepping through that portal.
A little bit of a big misplay. I feel like Scissors is not going to let that down. I mean, everyone that's in competitive Apex knows him, has seen his name. He's not going to live that one down. I feel bad for him, but at the end of the day, like that just, I think that was the perfect ending to what a just goofy game this was in general. It's actually a better way to end it.
Yeah, I can't think of a better way to end it. You think they have the game won perfectly, and for maybe some of our new viewers that didn't understand entirely what happened there, Scissors was the last man standing. There was a gold knockdown shield in the hands of someone that was knocked, and of course, as you know, you can revive yourself, so you have to eliminate that last player. Scissors is frantically looking to eliminate the last few players, and accidentally steps into a portal to his own death, and instead, Smile comes out with the win over Happy Campers. That cost Happy Campers 3 points from 12 to 9 points for second place. We'll see what that does. Only time will tell as we're working feverishly to calculate the scores and figure out exactly how things shaked up in our last game. Bravo started walking us through it. Rogue was in first place with 50 points. They got 15th with only 2 kills. That's going to put Rogue at 52. I mean, all we can do is speculate as we're calculating the numbers. Let's go ahead and take a look at that very final moment at that same exact scenario. Hodsick, break it down for us.
All right, I mean, you're looking at Smile's team right here. I believe they're getting ready. I mean, they're actually in this really strong spot, despite them being on the low ground, which you would obviously most often think that, you know, that's not a great spot. Watson can turn low ground into a really, really advantageous spot with their gen because it can't get naded out, and you just wait for people to jump down, and they're basically free targets. Like you see, they're not even, no one's even looking at them right now. Bronzy's just picking shots at everybody left and right. Just running in, trying to get whatever they can, killing whoever they can. And I believe it was them that eventually went down. All of them went down with the gold shield. And then, which unfortunately Scissors was not able to capitalize on Smile's golden knockdown shield. But funny, it would be rather funny to see it from their perspective. If only we could hear their comms too. They were probably just as confused as we were.
Yeah, Nunin just continuously going through this portal here. Finally, this is the moment where he got taken out. So now, from their POV, game's over, game's lost. He's about to get taken out, and here it goes. Whoop! Through the portal. You better believe they were screaming on top of the world, just trying to survive right now. Absolute chaos in this scenario. And in the end, some way, somehow, Smile ends up on top. Didn't even matter, though. They would have gotten first place regardless in overall points as they turned up in a massive way with 8 kills plus 12 points for first place finish. Happy Campers finishes with 14 points. Could have been 17, and that could have been the difference. And take a look here. In the end, you can hardly believe it, but based on the shakeup, Rogue stays on top and takes home a championship victory in online tournament number 4. Congratulations to the Rogue organization for winning their first Apex Legends major online tournament and event over TSM, who gets a second place finish right behind them. What a finish and what a day it was, Hotsick.
Absolutely, and you love to see it too, given that they unfortunately lost Huskers, who was a big part of Apex as well as that org in general. Well, the org still has him, but he's no longer with that team. Picking up a massive just controller god snipe down and pulling out that first place. I mean, you love to see it.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know who Snipedown is, one of the most storied names in esports. He's been competing at the highest level in his respective game for over 12 years now after playing Halo 2, Halo 3, every single Halo title, winning over 20 Halo championships, making his move over to Apex Legends, a consistently top-placing player, formerly of Team Reciprocity. He joins Rogue for the first time this week. Week of scrimming, week of grinding, week of practice pays off as Rogue is going to take home a first-place finish. They are the third team to win a major on the North American side of things, or a major event, alongside TSM, who, of course, has won 5 straight, and then after that, 2 second-place finishes. Team Liquid wins our last one 2 weeks ago, and now Rogue gets to join their ranks as a championship winner in this one. Congratulations to the Rogue organization. And again, a crazy finish to this tournament, a crazy event from start to finish, and a crazy finish in Game 5 right there, as ultimately Rogue did take first place. You, of course, could also participate in future online tournaments by registering tomorrow at 8 a.m. battlefy.com/leagues/ALGS to register tomorrow at 10 a.m. Spots fill quickly, so make sure to get there early, as, of course, this is an online tournament, an open tournament. Anyone can register at any time. Hotsick, I know you've had a chance to coach teams and play and participate. Your thoughts on this open format in Apex Legends?
It's really, I really admire what they're going with in terms of allowing literally anybody to do it. Obviously, anybody at home could be watching and just kind of like aspire, be like, man, that must be so cool to play. And if they grind hard enough, they could join their favorite teams and players on the main online stage. But and I think it's really cool that it's not really like gate-kept in any way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Of course, once again, 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time, so that's 1 o'clock Eastern for any of the Easterners over on the North American side of things. 10 o'clock tomorrow, you can register for the online tournament, and you love the format. Good insight from you, Hotsick, and of course, any team, any player can step up, but in the end here, it was Rogue who ended up on top. You also have to give a lot of respect to TSM. I mean, obviously, 5 straight tournament wins, one of the most dominant teams in modern esports history, and then to get second place twice right after that, 2 points away or 3 points away from finishing first. I mean, that is still dominance personified in every single way. This TSM squad is so incredibly good, so incredibly sharp, consistent. They always manage a way to sneak into the top 2. They've never not been in the top 2 in any Apex tournament, starting way back when at the X Games in Minneapolis. Seems like a long time ago now, 10 months ago. So big shout to TSM for a great performance and a great showing here as well. Of course, you can follow all things Apex Legends at PlayApex on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. You can also go to playapex.com/ALGS to keep up with all things Apex Legends, especially competitive Apex, and tweet at us using hashtag ALGS. I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts as a result of that one. We'd love to hear them. Tweet at PlayApex using the hashtag ALGS. Tweet at us, Fallout with 2 T's, Hotsick. We'd love to hear your thoughts and talk about this. I'm sure there's a lot to discuss. Twitter will be interesting tonight. That is for sure. It's been an interesting day, to say the least, right, Hotsick?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, from the kind of like anybody can win type mentality in EU, with how close all those games were. It was a grind from start to finish, to the unpredictability of the NA tournament. I mean, predictable in the sense that you have your NA teams that are big titans that certainly showed up. I think each of them took a win today. But then even like that top 5 in general was surprising turnout. There's some, I think Smile crept in there. Saw Fishers, I think, at fourth. Solafide at third, which is a really, really, they're great players. So hats off to them. They put on a good